Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going into the 7th episode of our story in which Naruto befriends Sasuke and Sakura at a young age through a stroke of fate. The three then set a goal to surpass the Sannin as the strongest shinobi team and uncover a mystery about Naruto's heritage that extends beyond the limits of the elemental nations, altering the course of history forever. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel after you watch the video. Let's get started. Everything was on fire. Scorching flames lit up the night sky as if the very clouds themselves were set aflame. Screams of terror echoed throughout the burning town, which bared no resemblance to anything in the elemental nations. Trains were derailed and some of the cars were crashed into edifices, trapping any unlucky soul unfortunate enough to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Crash sites of machines that vaguely resembled animals avian in nature and were able to go faster than the speed of sound, were littered practically everywhere. Inside the canopies were simply ashes of the former humans who had controlled these majestic machines, and they were the lucky ones. The others whose bodies have survived intact still burned away, even though the life in them had long since perished. This was Europa, the western continent some 1,000 miles away from the border of Tsuchi no Kuni. Alone Uchiha watched the carnage, the vibrant display of destruction and death, with morbid unease. He had seen the visions before but never in this amount of extraordinary detail. He could actually hear the screams, truly see the depth of the destruction that he had somehow managed to brush off for 3 years. With a gulp, Sasuke trudged down the streets with chilling casualness. He knew he was immune to the effects of everything around him, but it didn't make it any less doleful. What the hell was going on? Usually, he would have woken up by now, but this vision had progressed far longer than normal. He turned to his left, hearing shouts in a language that was completely and utterly alien to him. A small airship that resembled a blimp descended and hovered above him at about 10 meters. It was small, only about 60 feet long and 10 feet in height, but it had an internal bay in the middle that, to Sasuke's rough guess, housed about 20 or so people. At the front of the unusual blimp was a canopy with an obvious human occupant, and in the back were 2 jet engines that allowed hovering. A single fan near the center of the dropship balanced the entire craft for hovering. 3 ropes descended from the blimp/dropship hybrid on either side. Humans, who were very obviously soldiers, descended from the craft. Sasuke took in their appearance, and it was truly bizarre to the Uchiha Scion. They had dressed down in all black, combat boots, black and gray fatigue camouflage patterns, with lightweight body armor which matched their camouflage. However, what truly stood out were their faces or lack thereof. Sasuke couldn't see them as they had a gas mask with several tubes on the sides that connected to small filters on their backsides. The mask seemed to connect to a helmet obviously made out of some type of alloy, and goggles that covered their eyes, which glowed in a distinct reddish-orange. It was obvious that it was only meant for intimidation and nothing more. Waffen control, weapons check, the obvious leader of the squad barked out, as all 12 of them checked a strange weapon. It was strange. Sasuke knew for a fact that what he heard was a completely foreign language, and yet he understood it as if it were his mother tongue. What the hell is this? The Uchiha wondered as he continued to watch the scene unfold. Alle Waffen sind klare Kapitän, all weapons are clear, Captain, another soldier replied to the captain, who nodded. Verbreiten Sie heraus und suchen Sie nach allen möglichen Überlebenden. Wenn Sie sehen, sagen irgendwelche Britannien oder Alchemisten nicht, sie zu binden. Für den Rum von Germania, spread out and search for any survivors. If you see any of these Britannian or alchemist dogs, do not hesitate to kill them. For the glory of Germania, he drawled in patriotism. The other men raised their weapons in the air, obviously agreeing with him. As once before, Sasuke understood what he said perfectly. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Germania? So, that confirmed it. He now had no single doubt in his mind that he was being shown visions in Europa. The captain nodded and gave hand signals for them to spread out. Their Maskinen, Pistol 50, Machine Pistol 50 or MP 50, raised and poised to take down anything unfortunate enough to stand in their way. The Uchiha heir had to note that, despite being hundreds of miles away, their tactics, although obviously different than Shinobi, still bore enough of a resemblance where it felt uncanny. Shaking his head, Sasuke followed behind the squad discreetly, although, considering this was a vision, there was no need. He squinted his eyes to see a single word imprinted on the backs of their uniforms. Kaiserschutz. Sasuke pronounced out. Within seconds his brain had already translated it back into his native tongue. Imperial Guard, eh? So, I guess whoever the leader of this Germania is sent his most elite soldiers here. Question Iswi. The squad of the Germanian Imperial Guard stopped suddenly as they heard a pack of howls that sounded eerily similar to a wolf. The captain's eyes widened. Being a veteran recognized that cry anywhere. Jedder, Halten ihr Augen abgezogen, were erhielt Firma, everyone, keep your eyes peeled, we got company, the captain suggested as they all twitched a bit, nervously. Growling echoed throughout the street, the cacophonies caused by the burning town were overshadowed with ease. Without warning, dozens of ferocious dogs, who resembled German shepherds, leaped out at the squad. Even Sasuke had to take a step back. The Ninken of the Inazuka clan seemed like mere puppies in comparison to the ferocity of these canines. They were abnormally huge, about 4.5 feet tall to be exact, and looked as if they had been mutated and experimented on. They actually carried short knives in their mouths. Not hesitating for a second, the Kaiserschutz opened fired, some of their rounds from the MP-50 only slowing the dogs down, as the sheer adrenaline coursing through their veins helped alleviate the pain of their flesh being torn apart by hypersonic bullets. The super-intelligent canines leaped toward an unlucky guardsman and sunk its fangs in his throat, puncturing the Adam's apple and caused the valves from his gas mask to fill with his own blood. The dog did show some form of mercy, by killing him quickly, by clawing out his face. Its claws tore through the mask and goggles with hardly any resistance, whatsoever. The captain, seeing his subordinate brutally murdered, growled, and aimed directly at the dog and emptied his entire 40-round magazine on it. His accuracy was dead on and the alchemist-enhanced dog was dead before it fell over. There wasn't much time to celebrate, as another dog had attacked him, pinning him to the floor. Its jaws snapped dangerously close to his throat, which was being stopped by his hand. Seeing as he didn't have anywhere close to enough time to put in another cartridge, he did the next best thing. He grabbed its snout and the back of its head and used all of his strength he could muster to twist its neck with an audible snap. It died with its eyes completely open. Sasuke stood agape at the sheer carnage and brutality of both human and animal. Those weapons, she hadn't seen anything like them before. Just what the hell did these Europeans come up with in the 100-year isolation with the elemental nations? Suddenly, he found himself standing in mid-air, watching the enormous city burn. He looked off into horizon to see an ocean where dozens, if not hundreds, of dropship/blimp hybrids made their way toward the city. They were of the same type as the one where the Kaiserschutz had dropped in moments before. Sasuke could only assume there were more of them to aid in retaking the city from whoever. In an instant, that notion was dashed away as a large beam of red energy, resembling a laser, passed by the fleet of Germanian blimps. There was a dramatic delay and one by one, the blimps went up in flames in order of passing and crashed into the sea, its occupants perishing. Sasuke's eyes widened in sheer surprise and shock. Turning to the assumed direction of the blast, his jaw dropped completely to the floor. An extremely large bipedal creature, which resembled a cross between a tyrannosaur and a lizard, towered over even the highest skyscrapers. It had dorsal fins shaped like spikes running along its back, and it stood at a colossal 500 feet tall, in Sasuke's low-end estimate. It opened its orifice and roared so loudly that the echoes wrecked buildings near the outskirts of the city limits. The Uchiha Scion couldn't confirm it for sure, but he could have sworn he saw a dark-skinned person on top of its head. He gave a command and the giant bipedal tyrannosaur gathered a ball of a peculiarly familiar energy source. Sasuke recognized it immediately. What? Is that chakra? Sasuke questioned in shock. The chakra-induced attack fired from the lizard's mouth at blazing fast speeds, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake as edifices, schools, parks, etc., were vaporized in an instant. It stopped and hit ground zero, and the megaton explosion vibrated the earth, quite literally cracking the city in twain. The sheer, scorching heat caused the entire nearby ocean to evaporate and turn to hot steaming vapor. Any building that somehow remained standing either collapsed or was atomized into dust. The resulting mushroom cloud stretched as far as the eye could see. The Uchiha shielded his eyes so the light wouldn't blind him, but everything else still went dark. He then only heard 7 words. "This is the way your world ends. X0. 0, X." Sasuke shot up from his bed sweating bullets, as his normally calm breathing was sporadic and irregular in patterns. After a minute or so, he managed to relax enough to breathe at a more sedate pace. Wiping his brow with a sigh, he swung his legs over out of the bed and touched the cold and desolate floor. Grabbing the pencil and notepad on the desk, he sat back down on his bed to annotate every last detail of his latest vision. He didn't leave anything out and described everything he could in as much detail as he could allow. Strangely enough, the only thing he couldn't remember was the dialogue that the Germanian soldiers had said, but he did remember 3 key words: Kaiserschutz, alchemists, and Britannia. He wrote the word down and its translation, Imperial Guard. "I guess I only know the language when I'm having the vision," Sasuke deduced. Strange, he pondered for a moment, staring at the words. Why can I remember this, though? Germanian Imperial Guard, what's the significance of that? The brunette grunted in frustration and looked at his alarm clock. It was 0640 and breakfast would be in a half-hour give or take. As soon as the thought came to him, all of a sudden, his nostrils seemed to recognize that his mother was making breakfast for the trio. He already knew it as the topic of conversation at their daily morning meal. With another sigh, he made his way toward his own designated restroom to take a much-needed shower. Breakfast, 0700. While Mikoto was busy fixing breakfast, Naruto currently browsed through a new scroll focusing on the latest developments in Lightning Country, at least, as much as what leaked out of the isolated country. Outside of a few foreign merchants and corporations, access inside the country and, subsequently, Kumo, or as they like to be called now, the Federation, was practically impossible. The village had essentially cut itself off from the rest of the elemental nations. Naruto glanced up, staring at his mother's back, with a frown. Something's just not adding up. How the hell does Kaa-san know the rakeage? I think you and I both know the answer to that, the Kyuubi butted in as Naruto, once again, had subconsciously projected his thoughts to the Vulpine Biju. The Uzumaki's eyes narrowed. Yeah, but how's that even possible? The Raikage, a former Konoha shinobi? Sasuke, Sakura-chan, and I have looked through several archives throughout the entire village. There's no record of virtually anyone with the name Isu Hayasaka. It's as if he never existed, or someone doesn't want us to know he existed. Come on, now, Fox. You really don't think someone would go through that much trouble, do you? He could hear the Kyuubi tiredly exhale. Look, kid, I know it sounds out there, but it's the best lead we have at the moment. Asking your mother about it won't get you anywhere, seeing as how she completely blew the 3 of you off a couple of months ago. Besides, you and I both know that you're not even close to being able to take on a village leader, let alone an actual Kage. We can worry about this Isu character when the time comes. That time is, most definitely, not now. The blonde bit back a growl. He didn't like it, but he sure as hell had to accept the cold hard logic of his tenant. All right, I will, he told him, out loud. You know, Naruto-kun, if you keep doing that, someone's going to think you're crazy, came the voice of his rosette-haired female best friend. Sakura gave him an amused grin as she sat next to him at the table. Naruto scoffed. Yeah, he waved her off, crossing his arms indignantly. The kunoichi only giggled. Sakura-chan's right, you know, Naruto-kun, Mikoto gently chided, setting a simple meal of about a dozen onigiri in a wooden basket in front of them. Naruto chose not to reply, opting to simply enjoy his rice ball for what it was. "Any idea where Sasuke is?" he inquired, partly in curiosity and partly to get the attention off of him and his conversations with the Nine Tails. "I saw him head to his bathroom about 20 minutes ago," Sakura replied with a half-hearted shrug. A frown adorned on her face. However, looked pretty grim. "I'm not sure what was wrong with him." "That's because we have a serious problem," came said grim, familiar voice. "Speak of the devil and he shall appear." "Sasuke-kun, what's wrong?" Mikoto asked worriedly. "I had a vision last night, or this morning rather." "Ugh, screw semantics. Point is, I had one, except this one was more vivid and explicit than any of the rest combined," he explained gravely. "I can confirm what we've all suspected. My visions aren't in the elemental nations. They're in Europa itself." "Tell us what happened," Naruto urged with a slight narrow of his eyes. "For starters, I even know the name of the country, or rather countries that are involved. But I'll get to that later. For starters, there were soldiers. Not the soldiers you see in the minor countries here with no shinobi. These soldiers were highly trained and disciplined and used tactics, while similar to us in some ways, but completely different in others. They use weapons that fire projectiles faster than the naked eye can see." 3 pairs of eyes went wide. "Are you serious?" Sakura stammered out in shock. He raised his hands up defensively. "Now, before you throw your panties in a bunch, it's not all doom and gloom. I'm quite confident any experienced Jounin or ANBU level ninja wouldn't have too much problem dealing with them, considering their shots to hits ratio. With Naruto's reflexes, it should be child's play." His explanation somewhat allayed their initial concerns. They nodded with as much understanding as they could. But that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is this: these soldiers were highly trained and capable fighters. They were speaking a language that sounds nothing like ours, and yet he could fully understand them. Must be a side effect of the visions, Mikoto deduced. What good was a vision of another continent if you couldn't understand the language? It had made sense, at least, in Mikoto's eyes. Sasuke bobbed his head in confirming her hypothesis. It was. Anyhow, the strangest thing, these weren't ordinary soldiers, they were Imperial Guardsmen. The country's most elite warriors. The equivalent of our ANBU, if you must. Naruto's eyes narrowed. "Judging from the name, it looks like we're dealing with a bona fide empire here." "Maybe," Sakura butted in. "Sasuke-kun, what was the name of this country?" She had asked the million Ryu question. "They called it Germania," Sasuke revealed. "Germania, eh? Heh, what a strange name," Naruto lamented while scratching his chin in wonder. "Then again, we name our countries after elements and the terrain, so we can't really talk." "What else happened, Sasuke-kun?" Mikoto urged him. It was strange to the Uchiha matriarch. Something about the conversation she was having had given her an inherent feeling of déjà vu. She just couldn't place where in her past she had this. Before long, the soldiers moved among this completely massive city that dwarfs our village 100-fold, and I mean that literally. The city was burning down from, what I could guess, arson. They kept talking about making alchemists and the Britannians pay. Before long, they were attacked by dozens of dogs. Dogs? You mean like the Inuzuka clan's Ninken? Sakura asked in wonder. Sasuke shook his head. No. These dogs make the Inuzuka clan look like lost puppies. They were ferocious and even, dare I say, sadistic. I never did get to see if those soldiers made it out alive. Considering their numbers when I left, I highly doubt it. Even if they did somehow win, it wouldn't have mattered in the end, anyhow. Something happened to the city itself, didn't it? Came the ever-brilliant deduction from the blonde genin. You don't know the half of it. The city wasn't just destroyed. It was utterly annihilated by a creature that resembled a tyrannosaur, no less. It was enormous, dwarfing anything I've ever seen before. The chakra from that attack. It devastated the entire city with ease, almost as if that wasn't its full power. Naruto was only half listening at that point as he immediately contacted the fox. Yo, does that description ring any bells to you? He heard the Kyuubi heave a very long sigh. Actually no. I'm just about as in the dark as you are, kid. A tyrannosaur of that size? Either it's a summon that's long thought extinct, or there's another set of creatures we don't know about. Either way, kid, something is very wrong here. What do you mean by that? I don't know, boy. I just hope for both our sakes that you three will be ready for whatever happens in this future. He then snorted in amusement. I remember 3 years ago telling you that the world wasn't going to revolve around you, so don't think you're special. It's ironic that, more than likely, you three will be in the middle of a global conflict, not just a continental one. He then chuckled and added in his head, Varandan Bayako. Zelos, I hope you three know what the hell you're doing. You essentially trust the fate of the world on 3 12-year-olds. That last statement seemed to repeat in the fox's head. He cringed in horror. Gods, help them all. Naruto shook his head and chose not to reply. All right, everyone, that's enough on that subject. He stood up. Frankly, we can't really do anything right now except train and get stronger. While it's nice to have some idea of what we're going up against, we can't let it distract us. If we focus too much on it, we're going to neglect all of the duties we have here. His two friends nodded in acknowledgement. Okay, Naruto-kun, if that's how you feel, then we shall. Sakura bobbed her head again. She accepted the blonde's judgment without a second thought. Picking up his sheathed katana, he strapped it to his back. Come on, we have to meet Kakashi-sensei at Hokage-sama's office. Huh? What do you three have to go there for? A bewildered Mikoto asked. The three of us have been tired of doing D-ranked missions for the past month, and Kakashi-sensei promised to get us a mission that'll finally take us outside of the village. Sakura explained with glee at the prospect of going on her first real mission. Sasuke blinked before chuckling. Heh, I totally forgot about that, he admitted. Mikoto gave them a withering glare, crossing her arms. So when were you three going to inform me of this? She questioned calmly, although the undercurrent of irritation of being kept in the dark was abundantly clear. Sorry, Ka-san, I guess it slipped our minds, Sakura tried to allay, sheepishly rubbing the back of her head. The Uchiha matriarch rolled her eyes. I'm sure. Just make sure to stop by here before you go. I want to send you guys off, she instructed with a smile. Team 7 collectively nodded in affirmation. All right, we got to get moving. I highly doubt Kakashi-sensei is going to be late for this. Hokage-sama is giving us this one personally. See ya later, Ka-san. With a final brief nod to each other, the triad of Jounin-class genin vanished in a burst of raw speed. Seems those three have gotten even faster, eh? Mikoto noted, walking out towards the courtyard. She lightly stumped her toe against a stone. Grunting in mild pain, she gazed down and blinked. A chakra stone? Indeed it was. Apparently it was still here after all these years. A wave of nostalgia splashed through Mikoto as she bent down to pick it up. She couldn't help but smile. Be careful, you guys, she spoke to no one in particular. It's always the basics that end up saving your ass all the time. For the next half hour, she spent staring at the pebble and the courtyard, going on several trips down memory lane over the past 4 years she spent with her son and surrogate children. Hokage's Tower 0815, you're sure they're ready, Kakashi-san? A slightly jittery Irika Yumino asked as he nervously wiped some of the sweat from his brow. He was standing off to the side of the Sandaime Hokage, who had piles of scrolls on his desk with various missions. Kakashi waved off his concerns, dismissively. You worry too much. These genin are far stronger than you give them credit for. I have to use my Sharingan when I spar with just one of them, let alone all three. I know that, the academy instructor insisted and then sighed. You know Methy'll always be my students even when they grow up, he admitted with a small smile. A noble sentiment, Irika, Hiruzen praised, slightly offhandedly, while taking a puff of his pipe. While I appreciate your concern, Kakashi is correct in his assessment. These three are more than ready to deal with a simple, C-rank mission. He then smirked. Besides, I'm willing to bet they're more than tired of dealing with Tora-san, am I right? The copy ninja gave his leader a deadpanned expression, even through his mask. I hate that cat, he replied bluntly. He got a hearty laugh in return. As I'm sure we all do. But, missions are missions, I suppose. Before Irika or Kakashi could retort, there were 3 distinct knocks on the Hokage's door. Ah, speak of the devil. Enter, he permitted. Opening the door, Squad 7 crossed the threshold into the Hokage's office and closed the door behind them. Irika had to stare at the rookies with his mouth slightly wide open. Despite the triad being genin, they gave off an aura of power that eclipsed his own by several folds. It was unreal to say the least. However, the kindred dolphin decided to keep his vacillation to himself for now at least. Naruto smirked. So, you can be on time, Kakashi-sensei? I'm never late to missions, Kakashi quipped humorously, his eye turning into an upside-down U. Sakura gritted her teeth and pointed to him accusatorily. That's a damn lie. Remember all those times we had to catch that damn cat? I'm sorry. Did you say something? Sasuke had to hold the kunoichi back, who was practically foaming at the mouth in mock anger at the copy ninja's quirks. So, sensei, you said we had a C-rank mission? Naruto inquired, decisively ignoring his other 2 teammates. Yes, we do. Which Hokage-sama is about to explain. All eyes turned to the 3rd fire shadow. Your mission is simple enough. It's an escort mission. You're to protect a client and escort him to the land of waves. He's a bridge builder and until said bridge is completed, you'll guard him until then, Hiruzen explained. Irika's eyes narrowed a bit at the mentioning of the country, an action that didn't go unnoticed by the Uzumaki's razor-sharp visual acuity. Sounds simple enough. Where's the client? Sasuke asked. He should be here any min. The Sandame's reply was cut short as a man, rather rudely, stammered into the Hokage's office. He was a gray-haired, bespectacled man with a large beard and dark eyes. He wore a brown V-neck short with an obi, with matching pants and sandals and a rather larger straw hat on his head. He gulped down the contents of a bottle that was clearly alcohol. Name's Tazuna, he offhandedly introduced without much of a preamble. The hell does this guy think he is? Barging into the Hokage's office like that? I swear people have no sense of tact these days, Sakura thought to herself in disgust, while she, along with the rest of the team, held impassive faces, externally refusing to visibly react. Tazuna, You're the bridge builder we have to protect, I presume? Kakashi deduced. Tazuna took another swig of his sake and nodded in confirmation. You'd be correct. I'm guessing you and those kids are my escorts. Gotta admit, I expected a bunch of scrawny brats, but I have to say, I'm quite surprised. You 3 look like you can handle yourselves in a fight, he praised. While initially being slightly annoyed at being called kids, the trio was most definitely pleased they had made a good first impression. You all can get acquainted on the road. I'd like for you all to leave as soon as possible. Tazuna-san, why don't you meet the team in an hour or so at the front gates while they gather necessary supplies, the Sandame suggested. The bridge builder gave a shrug and excited the office. Hiruzen then turned to Squad 7 and their sensei. You 4 are dismissed. I wish you luck. The four shinobi bowed and vanished from the room via the Shunshin no Jutsu, body flicker technique. Hokage-sama, permission to speak freely? Irika asked grimly. Granted, Hiruzen premised. Hokage-sama, with all due respect, are you sure this mission is wise? You know of the situation in the Land of Waves, no? There's no way that this mission is simply a C-rank mission. The third fire shadow closed his eyes. I'm well aware of that. Believe me, Irika. I've done so purposefully. I know that this assignment will likely upgrade to a B rank or higher. It'll be a good lesson of how mission circumstances can change in an instant, no matter how simple it may first seem, he explained. But they're genin who are, jounin level in skill, Hiruzen interjected, giving the head instructor a hard stare. Irika's jaw flopped open, unhinged, in complete disbelief. Figuring that the Chunin wasn't going to say anything further, the Sarutobi clan head continued, those three surpassed your level of skill a year after they enrolled into the academy, and they've only grown more skilled as the years went by under Mikoto-chan's tutelage. Were it not for the fact that I wanted them to gain some actual experience and not set a precedent of things being simply handed to them, I would have promoted all three of them to Jounin right now. However, they may have the skill, but they don't have the leadership skills and experience to coincide with such responsibility. Wow, Irika breathed out. I knew those three were good, but I never expected this. Such potential only comes once in a generation, Irika, he reminded him. Be thankful that they're on our side. Hiruzen turned around and stared out toward the village. Tazuna-san has 4 Jounin-class Konoha shinobi escorting him. He's in good hands. Irika gave a curt nod of understanding. If what you say is true, then I guess he is. If you'll excuse me, sir, I have another generation of ninja to teach, said Irika with a genuine smile. The Hokage returned his expression with a kind, grandfatherly one of his own. Then go on, then. I won't keep you from your passion. The dolphin grinned, bowed, and dismissed himself from the room. Knowing he was alone, Hiruzen had to sigh and frown. Though he had allowed Tazuna to essentially lie to the village, he knew that Team 7 was more than enough to handle it. However, there was a sense of déjà vu building within him and he didn't like it. Not one bit. There was one underlying reason for it, it was starting to be eerily familiar to the first C-rank mission that he gave Isu and his team, some 25 years ago. He just prayed to the gods above that history wouldn't repeat itself. The Sandaime just had no idea how wrong he was. This one single mission would have ripple effects throughout the entire world, not just the elemental nations. X0. X, Hai no Kuni, 1,100 hours, en route to Wave Country, nearly 2.5 hours had passed since Squad 7, Kakashi, and Tazuna had left Konoha to journey to the Land of Waves. Although they tried to hide it, a blind man could tell how excited they were for not only being out of the village for the first time, but also doing a mission that wasn't, to be blunt, completely and utterly retarded. They could have gotten there much sooner, but Tazuna, being old and having no ninja training whatsoever, put a stop to that thought almost immediately. There was hesitant, but not necessarily awkward, silence between the 5 travelers. Kakashi was reading his book, casually, while the rest of the team kept a sharp eye out for any signs of danger. More than tired of the silence, Tazuna decided to make naught of an observation. Hey, Naruto, was it? He asked, making sure he had gotten the blonde's name right when they introduced themselves before they left. Said blonde kept so focused, that the sudden calling of his name nearly caused him to trip over himself. That got an amused chuckle out of everyone. Heh, yeah, that's me, Naruto replied, trying to play off his clumsiness. Sasuke got a devilish grin. He now had, potentially, a means for him to get back at Naruto for all his teasing he did at Muramesa's shop 3 years ago. Well, it's more of a question for all 3 of you, really, he clarified. Even Kakashi raised his brow a bit, even though his eyes were still glued to his book. I'm not sure if it's any of my business, but an old man's just trying to make conversation. Anyhow, you three seem pretty close, based on how you interact with one another. It might be just hearsay, but I thought most rookie shinobi teams started off barely knowing one another, yet you three carry yourselves as if you could work together without even verbal communication. Did Konoha improve its standards or something? Tazuna asked in genuine curiosity as the quintet continued to walk down the main road. The golden trio shared a brief glance at one another, not quite sure how to answer that in the briefest way possible without giving too much away. They didn't fully trust Kakashi with their secrets, let alone a one-time client. Well, the three of us have known each other for 4 years and lived together for 3. Our Kaa-san taught us the shinobi way since we were barely 8 years old, and we've been put through exercises that make the academy look like a circus parade. Yes, Tazuna-san, we carry ourselves that way because we really can work harmoniously non-verbally. It's practically second nature, Naruto explained in the briefest way he could that would satisfy the bridge builder's inquisitiveness. Tazuna eyebrows shot up. Kaa-san? You three are siblings? They all looked completely different from each other. Half-siblings with separate fathers perhaps? No, Sakura corrected sharply, but we might as well be. The rosette-haired kunoichi them gave him a dark look. I'd appreciate if you don't ask about the circumstances behind our bond. Her chilling voice permeated the air around her. From the expressions of the other two males, the feeling was entirely mutual. Gulping, the bridge builder nodded. He wouldn't admit it, but that girl had scared the living daylights out of him. Kakashi-sensei, we'll scout ahead a couple dozen meters at a small pace, Sasuke relayed to the copy ninja. Kakashi raised a slight eyebrow. Normally, he'd expect Naruto to make that kind of suggestion, seeing as how he'd always been the one to call the shots that the others followed without hesitation. Throwing that bit out of his head, he nodded simply, intrigued by the Uchiha taking the blonde swordsman's role, if not temporarily. Sasuke inclined his head toward the other two and they blurred into the trees with impressive speeds. Strange team you got there, Kakashi-san, Tazuna noted. Once Squad 7 had taken point. Kakashi gave him a slight smile. Don't worry, you'll get used to it. Hell, they don't even fully trust me yet, so I know exactly how you feel. I don't know what exactly happened to them over the past 4 years, but I know they're a damn good team and I'm proud to call them my students. They'll protect you with their lives, as will I. Of that much, I'm certain. Tazuna nodded faintly, accepting the Jounin's words for what they were. Hai no Kuni, en route to Wave Country 1,300 hours, various pulses from the chakra Hankyuti echoed throughout the forest as Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke spread out equidistant from each other, taking turns using the first jutsu that Mikoto had taught them. So far, they had detected the usual, animals, plant life, littered trash, metals, nothing out of the ordinary, so far. Ugh. I wish we'd find something. Naruto gritted out in irritation. He was known for being the most patient out of the three. It came with the burden of leadership, but holy hell was he itching for some action. This was their first mission outside the village. Damn it. Sasuke couldn't help but to agree. No kidding. This mission has been a snorefest for hours. We haven't even run into bandits for fuck's sake, he cursed indignantly. Anything would be better than, hold it. Sakura called out as she and her male companion stopped suddenly in the branches, somewhat hiding themselves. Sakura made several hand motions and pointed toward the middle of the road. Naruto's eyes narrowed as his ultra-clear vision zoomed in to see a puddle which was strange. The summer season approached quickly, and as such it hadn't rained for several weeks, nor did any forecast predict rainfall in the near future either. Signaling Sakura and Sasuke, they both nodded to be on standby. Using the Ibitsumi, distorted step, Naruto was gone in a flash, a bluish blur of afterimages left in his wake, as he used his created supersonic speed technique to move on the other side of the road and quickly leapt to another branch. He could still clearly see his two teammates in the trees on the other side. Kakashi and Tazuna came into view about 300 feet or so from the puddle. If the blonde's hunch proved right, he'd need to use them as bait. He saw Kakashi eye the puddle critically for a split second, before seemingly going back to his casual aloofness. So, I see you figured it out as well, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto thought to himself. Now, then, when are you going to make your move? The Kyuubi jailer didn't have to wait long as two missing ninja from Kirigakura rose up from the puddle. They both were identical and had dark hair and a cloak covering their bodies. Huge claws covered both of their hands. They didn't waste any time using chains connected to their gauntlets to attack Kakashi. The bladed chains wrapped around the jounin and ripped him to shreds with ease. Tazuna's eyes widened completely, clearly not expecting an attack so soon. Just as one of the rogue ninja was about to connect a killing blow, Tazuna felt his whole world go completely dizzy. Shaking his head, he gazed upward seeing the blonde brat. They were at least several dozen meters away from the two shocked Nuke Nin. What the hell? One of them thought, bewildered. 1 second I had the old man, and in the next, he was gone in a flash. Just what the hell is this kid? Ugh. You'll pay for that, you little brat, the other, smaller mist ninja shouted, obviously displeased about being robbed from his kill. Gozu. Let's kill this punk kid. Gozu grinned. With pleasure, Meizu. Let's show them what happens when you mess with the Oni Kyodai, demon brothers. The two rogue ninja were about to leap into action again, before two forces slammed on their faces, sending them in opposite directions into the base of a tree, cracking them. Sasuke and Sakura appeared in the centerpiece of the road back-to-back, weapons drawn and in stance. Sasuke glared profusely at Gozu with his Sharingan. His rosette-haired companion virtually did the same, obviously without the Dojutsu for added effect. Naruto simply stared at the situation with his arms crossed, watching the scene play out from a distance. He didn't interfere as, 1, these so-called demon brothers were insanely weak compared to his team and they could have defeated them with ease at their leisure, and secondly, he had a duty to protect Tazuna. Needlessly interfering could put his life in danger and any shinobi in hiding could take the chance to kill him while they dealt with the demon brothers. He was fast, ridiculously so, he knew. But his mother had long beaten the arrogance out of him. There was no need to take a chance, slim as it may be, when there was no real need to. We'll give you one chance to surrender and tell us what you know, Sasuke threatened dangerously as his famed bloodline's Tomo started to spin. If not, Sakura picked up, as her glower and demeanor turned murderous, we'll eliminate the both of you right here and now, she coldly intoned. Despite the frigid nature of her words, inwardly, Sakura wasn't exactly sure she could carry out the threat. Not from lack of ability to do so, mind you. It was more of a lack of resolve. While Mikoto had forced them to kill animals they had befriended to slowly ease them into the idea of killing, the concept of killing a human being was still a foreign concept for all three of them. Still, they took up the mantle of wanting to be shinobi 4 years and some change ago. Killing came with the job description, so one might as well get used to it. The demon brothers growled as they forced themselves to sit up, despite being in an intense amount of pain. Both glared maliciously at the Uchiha and Haruno. You fucking kids. You think we'll tell you anything? I'll kill you both. Meizu vowed. Sakura's eyes narrowed even further. So be it, then. Both runaway shinobi charged at pitifully slow speeds relative to Sasuke and Sakura's skill level, and both genin watched on, bored and disinterested. Meizu's claw seemed to gut Sakura, causing him to grin maniacally. His terse, inward celebration was cut short when the kunoichi turned into a pile of cherry blossom petals. A substitution jutsu. He alarmingly realized. Appearing on his right flank using her Hanakairi Shunshin, flower-dispersing body flicker, Sakura raised her staff high in the air. Meizu took one final look at Sakura's face, one that was callous and merciless. If the former mist shinobi didn't know any better, he'd say she wasn't giving that look to him per se, almost as if he were an auxiliary in place for someone else. He wouldn't have to ponder that as the kunoichi brought her staff down on his head with her entire might, crushing the protective helmet he wore and his skull with ease, sending a pool of blood everywhere. He didn't feel a thing. Meizu, came the cry of his twin brother. The angered and distraught Nuknin never even got a chance at revenge as the chains of Sasuke's Kusarigama wrapped around his entire body. The Uchiha showed a surprising amount of strength at holding him back. You won't get the chance to even touch her, Sasuke spat, barely above a whisper, though the threatening tone was clear as a summer day. Let me go. Gozu roared as he tried to resist the confines. He got a dark smile in return. Sure, I'll let you go, Sasuke then yanked back with his right hand, pulling the chains and sickles in contrasting directions. Both sickles crossed each other's paths and slit the mist ninja's throat, to hell. The dead ninja fell to the ground with a thud. Sasuke flicked the blood from his weapon of choice on the ground, splattering out in a fan-like shape. Walking toward the slightly trembling pink-haired kunoichi, he put his hand on her shoulder. You all right? She turned to him slightly and gave him a small smile. Yeah, you? He shrugged. My cholesterol's a little high, he replied with a small smirk, diffusing a bit of the post-mortem tension. Sakura rolled her eyes and pushed him lightly, giggling. Naruto, seeing that the coast was clear, for now, trotted evenly to his best friends to check up on them. Amazing. Tazuna stuttered out, barely believing what he saw just now. He knew those kids were good, but this was ridiculous. They are, aren't they? A voice agreed. The bridge builder turned toward his left and was shocked to see the copy ninja completely unharmed. He was leaning against the tree casually reading his orange book, again. Booty saw you. Die, he finished, before pointing at a pile of logs near the corpses of the demon brothers. It was a clear sign that he used the Kawarimi no Jutsu, substitution technique. Tazuna gulped, vaguely remembering that ninja usually used the technique to replace themselves with objects, usually a log. Having their first kills on a C-rank mission. I should be used to this by now, Kakashi thought with a sigh, putting his book away to observe the three. They seemed to be, outwardly at least, taking it very well. No dramatic wailing and shaking, just calm acceptance. It was uncanny, really. Then again, every shinobi reacted to his first kill in a plethora of different ways. In any case, seeing as how there was no need for him to do any mentoring on that particular subject, he concluded it to not be a primary concern again, for now. They had a much more pressing matter at hand. Tazuna-san, would you mind if we had a certain chat? He darkly asked him, to which the old man nodded dumbly. What about? He inquired, nervousness clear in his voice. This entire mission, came the voice of Naruto as he and his team came up to the duo. Ordinarily, on a C-ranked mission, the enemies we're supposed to encounter are nothing more than second-ranked thugs, bandits and thieves. Not shinobi. But you were attacked by two missing nin from Kirigakure, the village hidden in the mist, Kakashi added. By default, this mission now turns into a B-ranked or higher. If you knew shinobi would be after you, why did you lie and ask for a C-ranked mission? Although, there was no doubt in his mind that his team could handle a B-ranked mission, hell possibly an A-rank depending on the circumstances, protocol still dictated that they turn back now. Tazuna exhaled a breath he didn't know he was holding. I suppose you do deserve to know the truth since you four did save my life. Where I come from, the land of waves used to be a prosperous nation and a gold mine for the continent's shipping industry. Well, what little of it that was, anyhow. We were at peace, no shinobi village even bothered us and crime was few far in between. That Isental Gato showed up a few years ago. He clenched his fist to outwardly show his malice and distaste for the entire ordeal that his people had faced while under that mogul's tyranny. Kakashi raised his eyebrow. Gato? Of Gato Transport? He's supposed to be one of the wealthiest men in the elemental nations, if not the world. What would he be doing in the land of waves? A few years ago, his company, being multinational in nature, decided to set up a new division in my home country. Our people, not knowing his true nature, happily agreed, feeling it would bring us even more prosperity. I, however, had a bad feeling in my gut, but I ignored it in favor of the will of our people. Admittedly, at first, it was doing well. New products were being shipped here, products we hadn't even heard of before, let alone seen. All in all, it seemed as if my initial doubts were just that, doubts. But then everything changed. What happened? Sakura inquired, urging him to continue. One has to give the bastard credit, since the man was subtle in his methods. While we thought our economy continued to boom, that couldn't have been further from the truth. In reality, Gato used his company to slowly take over every aspect of our trade, and eventually our lives. When he had enough capital to do so, he took complete control of our shipping routes and created a monopoly for himself. As a result, free imports and exports were extremely difficult, and as a result our once prosperous land turned into an impoverished wasteland. The blonde, hearing this, started to seethe in anger. One man had effectively ruined an entire nation of people. And for what? Just for money? Didn't you stand up to him? He's only one man. Naruto growled out. Kakashi put his hand on the Uzumaki's shoulder to calm him down. The old man gave a desolated look of utter defeat. Like I said, it was completely subtle in his methods. He took heavy advantage of our ignorance on matters of advanced trade protocols and regulations. But, then, even we did have the knowledge of such matters, it wouldn't have made a difference, anyhow. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. A man that powerful and influential doesn't get rich by playing nice. I'm guessing his company funded more than just that. You're right, the older man paused. In truth, Gato transport is nothing more than a front for his more illegal activities. Human trafficking, weapons smuggling, murder, assassination, narcotics, drugs, you name it, Gato has had some part of it in his life. The man will do absolutely anything to obtain more wealth, even though he has enough of it for a man to live off of for 10 lifetimes. Despicable piece of shit, Naruto cursed, already hating the man from the core of his being. But, wait a minute, though, Sakura called out, still confused about something. If the man is so powerful, why is he trying to kill you? I mean, no offense, you don't seem all that important enough to have a man send ninja after you. No offense taken, and I understand, he allayed with a small smile, but then turned serious. Although he does have a monopoly over our entire economy, it's not as absolute as one might think. The one thing Gato fears is the bridge. I've been building them for half of my life all across the continent, and if I finish this bridge connecting the land of waves to the mainland continent, you'll essentially break his monopoly due to new trade partners not having just the sea to access the country, Kakashi finished. Indeed. That's why we gathered as much money as we could salvage, and the most we could afford was a C-ranked mission. Otherwise, we would have gone all the way up as we could. My people are losing hope, Kakashi-san, and if I die, the land of waves dies as well. The Jounin instructor sighed, his conscience eating at him again. He couldn't go against protocol, and that dictated they turn back. His eye widened a bit, suddenly remembering a loophole. You know, normally, we'd have to turn back immediately and send more capable shinobi on this mission, the Cyclopean ninja began. Tazuna looked fearful, but Kakashi continued on unperturbed. However, if, say, all members of the team are qualified for the mid-mission rank upgrade, as determined by the squad leader, and all of the squad unanimously agrees to it, he gave a smile and let it hang in the air. Naruto grinned as he pounded his fist into the open palm of the other hand. You can count me in, Kakashi-sensei. There's no way in hell I'm turning back. If I can do a mission like this, how can I even call myself a Hokage? Naruto-kun's right. Sakura added. We can't just leave the land of waves to die not when we have the ability to make a difference. It just wouldn't be right. In addition to what they say, wanna kick some ass, Sasuke smirked. Continuing on is the best way to do that. Then I guess it's settled then. We're continuing on, Tazuna-san, Kakashi told a relieved and teary-eyed bridge builder. He bowed as low as he could in gratitude. Thank you so much. My people will never forget this. The blonde gave him a smile. Come on, old man. Don't cry on us, it's not a look that suits you, he slightly jabbed. Heh, he huffed, drying his tears. Suppose you're right. Shall we continue? We still have a long while before we get to the land of waves, the silver-haired Jounin reminded them. The rest of them acquiesced and slowly followed the copy ninja on their way, although this time with a much stronger resolve. They would protect Tazuna, they would free the land of waves from Gato's shackles, and they would take him down. The blonde had already made up in his mind that he was going to execute him personally. But like all plants, there's always a point of divergence, one that none of them couldn't have seen coming. X0. X, same time, near the edge of a cliff, unbeknownst to Squad 7, two pairs of golden eyes, clearly not human, watched them in wonder as they continued on their journey. These majestically beautiful creatures were 10 and 12 feet tall, respectively, in height, and had golden feathers across their entire bodies, except for their pitch-black, razor-sharp talons on their feet. Their feathers carried a slight static charge visible to the naked eye in intervals of 10 seconds. Powerful brown beaks adorned their faces where the tips themselves looked sharp enough to peck through chakra-reinforced concrete. These gorgeous creatures were the extremely rare Thunderbirds. So, this is the boy that Isusama told us to watch, eh? How amusing. His power and chakra levels are absolutely pathetic compared to his. I don't see why he's having us wasting our time watching him, one of the Thunderbirds drawled out in disgust. From its voice, it was clear that this one was female. Have you not forgotten so easily, Reika? Zeno-sama believes that the Big Three are planning on having their contracts being signed after centuries of their kinds not appearing, a male voice told the smaller Thunderbird, now named Reika. Reika growled. Oh, I haven't forgotten, Rai. I'm just baffled on why Isusama doesn't just kill the boy outright, knowing how exponentially powerful he can become if he gains that contract. The larger Thunderbird shook his head. You and I have both known Isusama long enough to know why. Killing the boy when he's at his strongest is the only way his thirst for vengeance against that bastard, Minato, will have been slaked. I wonder how the villagers of the Leaf would feel if they knew just what went on behind the scenes 20 years ago. Such hypocrisy that village's leadership was and still is. Reika let out a small, amused, laugh. History truly is written by the victors. But it's too bad that blonde-headed slimeball's dead now. I would have enjoyed aiding Isusama as he destroyed him and all that he loved for what he did. I hate them. I hate all of them. Reika snarled, as if Isu's personal hate became her own. She was ferociously loyal to the Godame Reikage, probably more so than any other of her kind, including Rai. Then again, she had known him since she was, literally, just a hatchling born from lightning striking her egg. It had taken years of getting to know him for him to open up to her and Rai of how he was betrayed by the Sandaime Hokage and the upper echelons and the traumatically abusive childhood. And then to hear that the Hokage used his powers and certain clans to, literally, erase every single trace of her master's existence from the village, save for a very select few just because of who he was, to say that Reika was absolutely livid boiled into a vast understatement. Had Isu not personally stopped her, she would have flown all the way to Konoha and struck the entire village down, not leaving a single one to escape with a series of powerful lightning strikes to turn the village into a crater. As far as she was concerned, every single person in the Hidden Leaf village was responsible for her master's woes. And if her master desired the entire continent and Konoha being burnt to ashes as reparations for said childhood, then, by the gods, she vowed to do everything in her power to aid him. I know you do, Reika, Rai gently said, rubbing his beak against her neck. But think on it, were it not for them Isusama wouldn't have met us or Zeno-sama. Reika frowned, but did see the logic in that. I suppose Sabat Riolito you think that boy can become strong enough to challenge our master and give him the satisfaction he desires? Isusama is strong enough to take down even Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha like their low-rank trash. While Reika may have been slightly exaggerating or being a bit hyperbolic, there was still a cold hard truth within her words. Rai snorted. Please. Have you forgotten just what clan that boy hails from? Even Isusama had to acknowledge their strength and prestige. Not to mention, in addition to their bloodline, he has the blood of an Uzumaki running through his veins as well. I'd say it's not only possible, it's downright probable. I see, she faintly replied. All right, I believe you. I'll have faith. Good. We need to report back to Isusama. He'll need to know that it's likely that the ultranationalists' contract with Gato Transport is likely going to come to an end in the coming weeks given that their team has resolved to take him down. Of which, I have no doubt they will, he confidently said. Isusama should have killed that greedy fiend a long time ago, Reika huffed in annoyance. She hated that man almost as much as she hated Konoha. He was deplorable in every conceivable way. As much as I agree with that sentiment, I can't deny that his company provided a good many of the tools, resources, and raw materials needed for Isusama to rebuild Kumogakure to its former glory. The village's infrastructure would have still been in dire shape without them, Rai reminded her, even if he, personally, had to begrudgingly admit it. I don't like the man either. Granted, he served his purpose well enough. The village bought enough resources to sustain itself without him. I suppose, Reika, too, unwillingly admitted as she spread her wings to their full wingspan. Come, I will not keep our master waiting. Not anymore. I refuse to be in this god's-forsaken country of hypocrites and cowardly trash any longer than I have to, she spat with lethal venom. The minute Isu gave her the go-ahead, she was going to slaughter and execute as many Fire Country citizens, women and children included, as she could. No one dared cross her master if they wanted to avoid her wrath. Rai nodded wordlessly and lifted himself up in the air, along with her. They both gave flight calls and lightning struck both of them, as they were surrounded by the element, like a phoenix covered in fire. With one huge flap of their wings, the two Thunderbirds cruised in the air northward at hypersonic speeds, leaving streaks of lightning in their wake. X0. 0, X, boat, 1800 hours, 2 miles to the land of waves. It had been several hours since the skirmish with the Demon Brothers and Squad 7 had decided to continue on their mission. They had sped up the pace a bit as they wanted to reach Tazuna's home country by nightfall. Although they could sleep on the land, if need be, there was no point in doing so unless absolutely necessary, so they opted to reach Tazuna's home as soon as possible. Currently, they ducked and crouched low on a boat, the helmsman apparently knowing the elderly bridge builder and gave them a lift across the river. He had shut off the engine and opted to paddle the rest of the way, to maintain their cover. Although the trip might have been slower, at the very least, the chances of being caught by one of Gato's patrol lowered significantly without the sound of the engine giving away their presence. They weren't on a strict time limit, so they could afford to be a bit patient. In addition, the river was foggy today, which also lowered their chances of being discovered. Not like it would matter if they could kill them with ease, but it was best not to make a situation complicated when it didn't have to be. Kakashi enjoyed his book as they sailed across the river, while the rest of the team kept out a vigilant eye. Since Sakura had the best control and was the subtlest, periodically, she'd use the chakra Hankyuti on the surface of the water to relay any potential guard movements back to her. So far, their luck held strong, surprisingly enough. Naruto perked up as his eyes could see the faint outlines of shore. He made a hand signal to two close companions and they bobbed their heads in confirmation as they gathered their things. We'll be landing soon, this is as far as I can get you inland without being spotted. I wish you the best of luck, the helmsman told them as they docked at shore. Don't worry about it. We'll take it from here, Kakashi assured, putting away his book, now that they were practically behind enemy lines, so to speak. Not even he could afford to be lax this far in the game. Undoubtedly, Gato would send ninja far more powerful than the demon brothers, possibly even Jounin class. They had to be ready for anything. Tazuna thanked the man and he sailed off as his form vanished with the fog. All right, be on your guard, everyone. Who knows what awaits us? How long until we reach your house? Kakashi asked, curiosity dotting the edges of his exposed face. It's roughly 10 miles from this spot, it should take us 2 hours to get there, the bridge builder replied as the team made their way forward. Meanwhile, as the two traveled, Naruto decided to have a brief conversation with the fox to pass the time. Yo, Fox, do you get a bad feeling about this mission, because I can't shake the feeling that something is going to change this entire thing upside down. I don't like it. Trust me, kid. I got the same feeling as you. I sense something powerful in this land that got Naruto's attention. Something powerful? What do you mean? The blonde didn't get a verbal response. He growled in frustration, aloud. That was one thing he hated when the Kyuubi did. Say something all mystical and cryptic and never followed through with an answer when he asked him what he meant. Extremely annoying. His thoughts were cut short when he heard a rustle in the bushes near him. Sasuke and Sakura beat him to the punch as both Kunoichi and Shinobi threw several kunai. Instead of a person, like they expected, a snow-white rabbit hopped out of the bushes and ran off. Strange that rabbit's fur was all white, Sasuke noted. It was springtime, not winter, so its fur should have been. Everyone get down. Kakashi called out as he tackled Tazuna to the ground. Sasuke and Sakura hit the deck as well, but Naruto stood as still as a statue. He heard the sound and visually saw a giant Zanbato being hurled at them like a shuriken. Rather than duck like the others, he did the next best thing. In a split second, he drew his katana at blazingly fast speeds and actually deflected the enormous blade into a nearby tree. The blonde's eyes narrowed when he saw a tall man on top of the handle with pale skin, short, spiky black hair, brown eyes, and no eyebrows. Bandages that acted as a mask covered his face and he was shirtless only with a belt around his neck hooking to his baggy pants. The forehead protector on his head was scratched out, signifying his status as a runaway shinobi from the village of the Hidden Mist. Well, how about that? The kid deflected my initial attack by sending it into this tree. Gotta say, I'm actually impressed, and with a sword no less, he intoned, with a grin. Naruto's eyes narrowed, gazing up towards the runaway. Giant sword. Bandages missing ninja from Kirigakuryu must be Zabuza Momochi, one of the Kiri no Shinobigatana Shishinin Shu, 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, he deduced. Zabuza chuckled. Well, it seems my reputation precedes me. Tell me, kid, how do you know of me? What kind of swordsman would I be if I didn't read up on the members of some of the greatest kenjutsu practitioners in all of the elemental nations? He replied rhetorically. The mist ninja gave an amused chuckle in response. Sakura Seisuke protect Tazuna, Kakashi-sensei, and I'll deal with Eyebrowless here, Naruto ordered as he got into another battle stance. That got Zabuza's attention. Kakashi? The copy ninja? Here? How interesting. That blonde Kitsamething's off about him. He seems to truly believe he stands a chance against me. Oh, well. Maybe he'll learn from his arrogance in the afterlife. Both the Uchiha and Haruno nodded and got into a defensive formation around the bridge builder. As fun as it would be to fight you and the copy ninja, I'm only here for the old man. Hand him over and you all keep your lives. Kakashi actually chuckled as he lifted his headband to reveal his Sharingan eye. You know, Zabuza. I almost pity you. You don't stand a chance against the 4 of us. My team would be more than sufficient at taking you down, let alone me. Is that so? Zabuza snarled, his anger starting to boil at being underestimated. Naruto and Kakashi's response was to get into a stance. The blonde's sword was just aiming to spill some blood. Sakura and Sasuke had gotten their first kills, and what better bragging right would it be to have one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist as his first spilling of blood. Naruto grinned, and he and the copy ninja clashed with Kiri's demon of the hidden mist for a battle that neither of them would ever forget. X0. X, unknown location, unknown time. Soto, you two believe it's time? No doubt the Thunderbirds are reporting to that bastard traitor, a deep majestic voice in tone that commanded respect. It should be no surprise. Their Thunderbirds' betrayal runs in their blood. Zelos, I don't see why you didn't have them hunted down and destroyed. Byako. You know that we Phoenixes only destroy life when necessary. They may have been traitors to our kind, but even still we uphold our mantle no matter how deplorable the enemy may seem, the now revealed Phoenix King rebuked sharply. Zelos was a beautiful phoenix, with his fur being of the perfect blend of bright gold and crimson red, and fittingly, his eyes were bright orange. He was over 300 feet in total height, and the flames from his wing tips and tails would make Amaterasu seem like a small forest fire in comparison. Byako, the emperor of the tigers, snorted, but accepted it nonetheless. He couldn't, in good conscience, ask an old friend to throw away the mantle for his own zealous hatred of the Thunderbirds. Byako was nearly 450 feet tall, and his fur was all white with black stripes, unlike most of his kind. Although to most he would be simply an overgrown white tiger, which was often their most fatal mistake. Varandan, what do you think we should do? The Tiger Emperor asked the King of the Dragons. Varandan was silent for several moments, as the 800 feet tall dragon mulled over their options. With things going awry and Isu knowing of what they planned, they didn't have much choice. We give them the contracts within the week. We have waited long enough. Although obviously they'll have to pass the trials, we wouldn't have considered them if we didn't think of them capable. There's too much at stake here. So, the dragon lineage shall finally be born again. I thought you and your father would never forgive them after what the Namikaze clan did eons ago. Zelos shuddered at that. The clan got off lucky considering how high their offense was. Varandan's eyes narrowed dangerously, as that was still a sore subject for him. Yes, that was then, this is now. Naruto isn't the same as they were, and I'm confident he can rebuild the lineage that even the sage of the 6 paths was humbled by. Tell me, Varandan, will you tell the boy the complete truth? He deserves to know, Byako warned the Dragon King. He does, but not now. I'll tell him about his father, but nothing more. I won't reveal that tidbit until I'm sure the boy is mature enough to handle it. It's for the greater good. He doesn't know, right now. Like everything we've done, hasn't it? Zelos solemnly intoned, the flames on his feathers dying out a bit, reflecting his inner desolation. Indeed, Varandan replied flatly. In any case, once they defeat this Zabuz'll do what we set out to do. We have important matters to deal with. Good luck to the both of you, my old friends. May the gods above be with you. And they be with you as well, Varandan, the Phoenix King and the Tiger Emperor replied, as the three bowed to each other in mutual respect. Zelos vanished back to his nest in a burst of flames, Byako changed into a pile of water, and Varandan wrapped his enormous wings around his body and soon vanished into thin air also. One thing was for certain, Isu and the Hidden Cloud had made enemies of the most powerful and mythological summoning contracts in the world, one that had chosen to ally with the village the Raikage had hated the most. Kumogakure, 13th District, WR Hawkes Training Field 1745 hours. It was little over midway into the evening in the Federation as many civilians and some, although few, shinobi were preparing to end their shifts for the day, which would come to close in approximately 15 minutes at 1800. That wasn't the case for a squadron of WR Hawkes Jumper Ninja, codenamed Reapers, prepping for a final training exercise to officially earn their wings and graduate. Their final mission objective was straightforward and to the point. There were, roughly, 75 of them, and they were spread out into 3 flights of 25 on one of the smaller species of the ultranationalists' plethora of giant eagles for a total of 3. Their objective was to drop in the dead of night, simulated, of course, and to take a medium-sized village from Opfor, opposing or opposition forces consisting of Hokage squadrons that had already graduated 8 months prior. Everything but killing was allowed. As ruthless as the new regime was, dead recruits were completely useless to them and were counterproductive to their long-term goals in pretty much every way. If a jounin or higher killed anyone under his command, he or she would have to have a damn good justification, such as severe insubordination and treason, lest he or she be punished and or killed himself by the Bolt, Black Operations and Lightning Tactics, Assault Division. The only ones who had the authority to kill on a whim without repercussion were the Bolt Commander Hideyoshi, the Lieutenant Commanders, and the Jounin Commanders Darui and Obano. The class had gone through hell to get this far, and considering the simplicity on the surface of the exercise at hand, it should have been a walk in the park, no? Well, not exactly. They had a few things that made this last test a bit unique. For starters, they were testing out a new type of fall restraint in the form of a wingsuit. Observing flying squirrels, the Federation's team of engineers and designers fielded out models of prototypes based upon the elusive animal, which, instead of simply letting gravity take hold of them, the suit's unique design would allow them to glide toward their drop points, adding an additional element of surprise and saving some space. Of course, they had the weakness of quickly cutting the suit off before said ninja could begin their mission in earnest, but the Federation's leadership was confident they'd get working suits built into standard-issue Kyumo Shinobi uniforms, before the village declared war on the rest of the continent. For now, they'd be satisfied that it worked. Improvements, along with other things, took time. Secondly, the Opfor they were facing was none other than the distinguished graduating unit known the Steel Rain, one of the dozen and counting units which all served under the Hokage branch of the Kyumo Shinobi. They were called the Steel Rain because they were all expert swordsmen and they rained down with ruthless proficiency and were merciless, hence their motto of, "From the heavens we will rain down our wrath." Some even had the brass to even compare them to the Bolt Assault Division, although most dismissed it as nothing more than baseless hyperbole. They were good, unquestionably, but they weren't that good. At least, not yet, anyhow. Bolt wasn't called the elite of the elite for no reason. And lastly, the Raikage, himself, monitored them, adding to the mounting pressure. This was the same man who had turned their village from the laughingstock of the elemental nations, into a potential empire, the gods above willing. The acting leader of the Reapers calmed himself by swallowing his own saliva. He turned to his men who were nervous, yes, but they were determined to prove themselves. If they conquered the ridiculous climate of the snow country, then this should be a piece of cake. All right, everyone, listen up. We've got the entire village's leadership some 10 clicks, militarized slang 4 kilometer, out, including Isusama. They may have the Steel Rain waiting for us, but we'll show those boys and girls how it's really done. They were choruses of "hell yeah" from all of them as they smirked in anticipation. Once we hit 5 clicks, we jump and head for the village. We'll be given close air support by a Saber squadron, danger close. They're dropping real ordnance, so don't be that guy who gets caught in the crossfire, he bellowed his order, to which they nodded seriously. Although it was technically a training exercise, in the eyes of their instructors, it had to be as real as possible, including the possibility of death, as rare as the occasion was. It served as a motivator, do or do not, there was no try. Trying only got you killed. Doing helped you stay alive. Reaper 1, this is Saber Squadron Delta, call sign Black Knight. Be advised, all skies are clear and you are clear for jump. I say again, Reaper 1, you are clear for jump, a masculine voice spoke over the captain's radio. Saber squadrons, while a part of Hokage, technically weren't jumper ninja. Their sole purpose was to guide birds of prey, hawks and falcons, mostly, that were mainly about 15 to 18 feet tall and provided close air support by dropping smoke bombs to cover an escape for the Federation should the need arise, bombs filled with hundreds of explosive tags, and a plethora of other miscellaneous uses. Should any of the hidden villages have any shinobi with aerial summoning contracts, Raptor squadrons had the training knowledge and experience to deal with them as well. Black Knight, Reaper, 1 copies all. Be on standby until needed, the captain replied over the frequency, his voice echoing slightly due to winds of semi-high altitude. He could see the V formation of falcons about 1,000 feet above them, silently observing. That's a solid copy, Reaper, 1, Black Knight will be on standby as requested. All right, Reapers. You heard the man. It's our time to shine. What's our motto? Those who meet us know only death. Then let's give them hell, boys, he replied with a sadistic grin as he and the rest of his graduating unit jumped off the transport eagles to let gravity take a hold of them. The unit was falling at an exponential rate and they couldn't activate their wing suits until they descended to a proper altitude. It didn't take long before they activated them and they, to their immense delight, glided along the air, exactly like they had hoped. Newfound determination awoke within the Reapers as they sped toward their landing zones like bats out of hell, quite literally, in fact. They had begun to descend after a solid 30 seconds of gliding. 1,500 feet, 1,000 feet, 500 feet, and then, deploying shoot, the Reaper captain shouted out, which the rest of his team chorused in synchronous harmony. Not even a second after his proclamation, he pulled on the ripcord, located on his left shoulder, as hard as he could, fighting wind resistance as well as the heavy line. He could practically feel the chute come from his backside at breathtaking speeds due to the fabric and wing suit being so closely knitted to his body to the point of almost being skin-tight to save volume and space. The trademark jellyfish-shaped parachute fully opened, slowing his, as well as his subordinates' descent safely to the LZ. Reaper Squadron didn't waste any time shedding their wing suits to reveal they were in full combat gear. They stored the suits in a simple storage scroll, contained on their person. Standard procedures so none of their enemies could reverse engineer the design. Black Knight, this is Reaper 1, do you have anything on your scope? Reaper 1 inquired as the graduating class were all in a semicircle, on guard, ready for anything, but were simply waiting for further orders. Reaper 1, that's a negative. I see noth. Wait a minute. Black Knight's eyes narrowed a bit as he twisted some knobs on his goggles, which acted like mini binoculars, zooming in on the forest 400 meters ahead of the squadron's LZ. He could have sworn he saw some rustling in the trees. Black Knight switched frequencies. Crimson Knight, take point and check out that area, markings. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. North 5 clicks, he ordered to his subordinate and fellow wingman. Crimson Knight, whose falcon was fittingly covered in dark red feathers, gave a quick salute, and guided his fighting falcon towards the area his captain had pointed out. His ruby-colored familiar flew at only subsonic speeds to avoid missing the area entirely. He narrowed his eyes. Black Knight, I'm not seeing holy shit, he cursed as he banked hard to the left, narrowly dodging a shot of lightning that went into the sky harmlessly. Reaper 1, contacts 5 clicks ahead of your position. I say again, contacts 5 clicks ahead of your position. Take out those ninja who are keeping us out of the sky. We'll give you CAS, close air support, as soon as we can. Black Knight relayed the situation to the team of hopeful graduates. Acknowledged, Black Knight. Reaper 1 copies all, the WR Hokage Shinobi replied professionally, even if he was a bit bummed this wasn't going to be a walk in the park as he had hoped. Crimson Knight, Sapphire Knight, Emerald Knight, Saffron Knight, and I will be on standby as soon as the job's done. Good hunting. Black Knight, out, Black Knight replied as well, cutting off the transmission. Reaper 1 turned to his team. All right, you heard the man. Steel Rain is currently hunched up in the forest some 5 clicks ahead of us. I'll lead Alpha Flight in the head-on charge. Flight leaders Bravo and Charlie, I want you to lead an ambush on their left and right flanks, respectively, and send some teams to take out whoever is keeping our birds out of the sky. We'll do everything in our power to make sure all of their attention is on us, but don't assume that they won't anticipate you. Got that? We'll be facing the whole company by our 25, lonesome, so you need to strike fast and hard. Sir. Bravo and Charlie Flight's leaders chorused, fully understanding their orders. You have your orders. What's our motto? Those who meet us know only death, they responded with full confidence and enthusiasm. With that final bit said, Reaper 1 led Alpha Flight as they dashed toward the hot zone, ready to meet their enemy head-on. Kumogakure, 13th District, unknown location above Reaper's final mission, 1805 hours, Isu looked on amusedly as he tranquilly watched the latest WR Hawk S-class partake in their final test before he'd officially deemed them combat-ready. His black Haori was blowing in the wind, showing a full view of the legendary Reiansu, Thunder Cloud Talon. You seemed amused, Isu-sama, Mitsurugi, the lieutenant commander of the Bolt Assault Division, noted with a small smirk on his face. The Raikage returned his expression, before shifting his deep cerulean eyes back toward the battlefield. Although they technically couldn't see anything, due to how deep the forest they were fighting was in, the two shinobi were on such a different level than the rest of the village that it was a moot point. Isu, himself, could sense the different fluctuating chakras with such precision and accuracy, that he could give a play-by-play just based on their jutsu and chakra usage. His abilities as a sensor went far beyond virtually anyone who had the audacity to say they specialized in the art. The only person who would even remotely have the chance at catching him off guard would be an assassin that was on Zenith's level. Ayami must say, I'm quite impressed that they've managed to give Steel Rain a hard time. They're fighting tooth and nail to keep that territory. He gave another smirk. Good. This should be a good lesson for them to not get complacent. It was time they tasted some humility. I have no use for such arrogance. Indeed, but I suspect that's not what has you entertained, is it not? The muscular Kenjutsu practitioner noted. How observant of you, Mitsurugi, Isu complimented, but there was a layer of backhandedness layered within. But they haven't detected Karui's velociraptors, yet. What? Mitsurugi asked, shocked. He knew that there were some unknown within the test, but to go as far as to include the infamous Chunin's extremely deadly predators? Don't act so melodramatic, he rebuked with a scoff. She needed the practice. I've given her strict guidelines to only stalk them undetected. She'll use and, more importantly, need this knowledge for the Chunin exams. Both Kage-level shinobi watched on as they saw Crimson Knight and Sapphire Knight go into a steep dive and unleash a torrent of red and blue lightning, respectively, lighting the forest up like midnight on the 4th of July. Impressive. I didn't expect them to have CAS for another 10 minutes or so, Mitsurugi noted as they continued to watch the battle unfold. The Raikage, as well as Reiansu, picked up on certain static disturbances in the air. A small genuine smile adorned his face. So, both of you return, Reikurai. That's enough. Call off the exercise and congratulate the Reapers on a job well done. I've seen enough, Isu ordered, walking off, leaving a dumbstruck Mitsurugi. But sir. They aren't even halfway done with. Isu silenced him as he unleashed the full fury of his chakra, the pressure bringing the assault division leader to his knees, desperately gasping for breath as he felt his lungs literally being crushed. Did I just hear you question my orders, Mitsurugi? The Raikage rhetorically inquired as he siphoned a piercing glare as his ocean blue eyes practically peered through his soul. SSA sir. I didn't mean, he barely choked out, currently suffering from hypoxia. You didn't mean it, right? Of course, you didn't. You should know that there is only one person in this village that has the right to do what you just did and get away without me punishing them. And she's currently not in our presence at the moment, leading to your current predicament, Isu calmly spoke, still, without any visible effort, keeping the pressure on him. Now, then are you going to shut up and do as I say, or do I have to give you a much more shocking experience in lessons of what happens when you disobey me? Mitsurugi frantically shook his head in the negative. The Reiansu wielder smirked and let off the pressure, and Mitsurugi took in several huge gasps of breath, thankful. Good. Now that lesson has been learned, I hope you don't repeat it in the future. You have your orders. The rakeage then vanished in a burst of speed easily on par with the Killer Dynasty. "You know that was stupid of you, Mitsurugi, defying Isusama, like that," came the all-familiar voice that the Assault Division knew all too well as despised. "Sayuri," Mitsurugi growled out, glaring at the smug brunette lieutenant commander, who had her legs crossed, sitting on a boulder that was 5 meters in height. Her navy blue hair was now in 2 ponytails instead of its usual one, and her sword, the infamous trickster, laid flat across her lap. "What the hell are you doing here?" Sayuri actually scoffed, indignantly sneering at her fellow LC. "You dumb brute. I swear, all of your training went into those oversized muscles of yours. Use your brain. I, as well as some of my captains who serve under me, am looking to see if there are any of the graduating class have potential for the reconnaissance division. And yet you're up here rather than down there," Mitsurugi pointed out suspiciously. The navy-haired Kunoichi smirked, impressed. "So you do have a brain up there, after all." "Truth be told, I felt Isusama's chakra and I just had to see whom he was punishing after all," she said with a chilling glee. "Lo and behold. I find you of all people. Honestly, I was laughing my ass off at how pathetic you looked." For emphasis, she belted out a mirthful guffaw. If looks could kill, Sayuri Ichiso wouldn't just be 6 feet under, she'd be buried to the center of the earth. He drew his nodachi at blazing fast speeds, as his chakra flared, enraged. "Pathetic, huh? Draw your sword, Sayuri, and we'll settle this the old-fashioned way, you fucking bitch," he challenged, his bloodlust slipping through. Sayuri got a maniacal grin on her face as she stood up and drew Trickster. "If that's how you want to be put down, then I shall oblige. I won't even need Trickster's genjutsu effects to defeat you," she boasted, clear excitement lining her voice. She had been under a lot of stress lately, putting this brute in his place would be the perfect alleviator. "I'll fucking destroy you," Mitsurugi vowed as blood-red lightning charged up in his nodachi. Cobalt-colored lightning charged up in Sayuri's as the two bloodthirsty and stressed shinobi fully prepared to have an all-out Kage-level fight in the 13th district, Isa be damned. There had been years of tension building and it was now getting to the breaking point. Both dashed towards each other, keen on finishing the other off in one blow, and raised their blades for a titanic strike before collectively their eyes widened and they stopped mid-attack to phase out of existence as the entire cliff was assaulted by a wave of chakra that seemed to consist of white feathers. A large thud later, half of the entire cliff fell 100 meters, shattering like glass on impact. The two lieutenant commanders nervously turned their heads eastward to see the feathers retreat back to its source, and it reformed the blade of one Hideyoshi Akechi. He glared at the two menacingly as he sheathed his katana. "Just what in the fuck are you two doing?" the irate bolt commander asked. When Hideyoshi cursed, you knew shit was going down. He was met with silence, both parties unsure of how to respond in a satisfactory way. "That's it, nothing. If you two were any lower in rank, I'd kill you on the spot. You dare call yourselves lieutenant commanders and, more importantly, subordinates of Isusama and act like such immature and petulant children." "But Sadesho, Mitsurugi tried to argue, but he shut up the instant Hideyoshi gave him the look that made him infamous among the ranks. "Back to no. Seeing as I can't kill you two without incurring the wrath of Isusama," he gave them a dark look, "your punishment must be more severe." Mitsurugi and Sayuri briefly looked at each other, not out of malice, but one of pity and acceptance. After all, misery does love company. "Let's go," Hideyoshi ordered, and the three collectively blurred out of sight. Zenusk, thoroughly amused, stepped out of the shadows from which he hid himself. "Well, then this is interesting. I wonder what the Sadesho plans on doing," he pondered aloud in an almost childlike manner. The albino lieutenant commander adorned a sadistic grin. "Time to find out." A thought then occurred to him. Isu did order Mitsurugi to call off the exercise and Hideyoshi had just ordered him back to HQ. Sighing, he decided to take some initiative and relay that order to the instructors. He stepped back into the shadows and then moments later all traces of his presence completely vanished. Top of Rakich's tower, 1830, Aisu waited patiently for his two loyal summons to make their way back to the village for their report. Considering the two birds could travel at hypersonic speeds, or over Mach 5, he was, if he were being honest, growing a bit impatient seeing as how he detected their chakra 10 minutes ago. Aisu-kun, an older familiar voice called out to him, earning a genuine smile from the Raikage. An orange and black blur later, the Reiansu wielder was nearly tackled to the ground by a dark-skinned 17-year-old female. Aisu gave her a grin. "Good to see you too, Ayasaki-chan," the Raikage grinned, spinning her around as he always did, even in her childhood. He sat her down, still smiling. "Soyu seemed more enthusiastic than usual." Ayasaki gave him a look and crossed her arms. "Really? You don't notice anything different?" she mock-pouted. Aisu blinked in an uncharacteristic fashion. The young kunoichi had matured a great deal since her disease was cured. She now stood roughly 5 feet and 9 inches tall, and had grown considerably beautiful in her own right. Her white hair that she shared with her brother complemented her dark skin flawlessly, along with the red beauty mark on her forehead. He then noticed she had a silver vest on her. Aisu's eyes widened. "You did it." Ayasaki grinned. "Yep. This girl is officially a jounin," she told him, giving a peace sign. The Raikage picked her up and spun her again in joy, showing a rare side that even Hideyoshi rarely saw. She wrapped her arms around his neck, holding on tightly, once again feeling like she was the same little girl he picked up for the first time almost a decade ago. "I told you I'd get it," she whispered in his ear, burying her face in his neck. "You promised me you'd help me achieve it within 3 years and I did," she spoke in eternal gratefulness. "Yeah, I know. You know Muhen, I make a girl a promise," Aisu began, smiling. "You keep it," the newly promoted jounin finished, crying tears of joy. Although, to an outside party, this could have been interpreted as a conversation between lovers, it really wasn't, just two members of the opposite sex who shared an extremely close bond. Now, that being said, if Ayasaki was being honest to herself, she was still head over heels, outright, in love with the extremely powerful Raikage. It was a sentiment that he, to this day, still didn't return. But that didn't deter her, at all. She always held out hope, no matter how faint it may have been. In her eyes, no guy had ever, nor ever would come close to Aisu. She felt him kiss her forehead and a pleasurable shiver ran down her spine. By the gods, did she fucking love when he did that. "Are we interrupting something, Aisu-sama?" Ordinarily, any other person who would have caught the two like this, Aisu would have killed them outright on the spot, unless they had a very damn good reason. Instead, he smiled and looked up to see his two most loyal familiars, Reika and Rai. Lightning no longer covered their bodies, showing off the innate beauty of their gorgeous, golden feathers that seemed to perfectly radiate the color of the sun. Both thunderbirds looked highly amused. "Reika-chan. Rai-kun." Ayasaki practically squealed, jumping out of Aisu's arms to embrace the legendary summons. Reika gave her an affectionate rub with her beak, while Rai used his wing to actually lift the girl up to his level, which wasn't that high, only 12 feet. Ayasaki grinned and hugged his neck. Rai made sure to absorb any static left on his feathers inside his body, as to not accidentally shock the jounin. Aisu gave a sidelong look, while remaining stoic. "Wow, they show up and she instantly jumps out of my arms. Don't I feel loved?" he joked to himself, slightly amused. "Rai-kun. I just became a jounin. Can we go for a ride? Please?" Ayasaki practically begged the male thunderbird. Rai snorted in amusement. Sure. If it's okay with Aisu-sama, then yes, we'll fly until sunset." "We can. But we have a report to deliver to him," he told her seriously. Aisu smirked at Ayasaki's hopeful face and then pretended to mull it over for the sole purpose of dramatic delay. All right, then. Go on, Rai. Take her now. I'm sure Reika can give me the report. Said Thunderbird nodded in the affirmative. Yes. Come on, Rai. I want to see if we can make it to the border of the Federation and back, she squealed with unabashed glee. Not even bothering to waste time, she expertly jumped on his back as Rai prepared to take off. A dark look came across Isu's face as he gave Rai a piercing stare. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that you had better keep her safe at all times, no? Rai shook his head in the negative. There wasn't a single person in the entire Federation that was stupid enough to look at Ayasaki the wrong way, let alone cause her bodily harm. Oh, lighten up, Isu-kun. Rai's the best, she tried to allay. Isu gave her a nod, if only reluctantly. With all being said, Rai gave a flight call and dove off the extremely tall tower and banked a hard left, Ayasaki screaming in bliss the entire time. He felt Reika affectionately nuzzle him with her beak. A distinct, purring sound that was similar, yet different to a common house cat, came from her. I missed you, Isu-sama, she practically choked out. Hey, it's okay, Reika, came the soothing voice of her master as he pressed his forehead against hers, while stroking the feathers around her neck, much to Reika's immense delight. He allowed himself a small smirk. Even though they were of different species, any moron could tell that the Thunderbird's devotion to him went far beyond just sheer loyalty. Oh, well. Admiration was the furthest from understanding. So what do you have to report on the boy? Isu asked, his hatred practically leaking off him in waves. I've seen what the boy is capable of, Isu-sama. He is powerful for his age, yes. But not anywhere near the level that you were at when you were 12, much less, now. Isu scratched his chin in wonder. I see. What of his combat specialties? What does he excel in? Weaknesses, he urged her to continue. Reika nodded. From what me and Rai were able to see, the boy has incredible potential as a swordsman. I didn't pick up on any noticeable weaknesses. He even has created his own speed technique just like you and he did all those years ago. Isu scowled at her, causing her to flinch. Don't ever compare me to them, he threatened in tranquil fury. Oh, yes, if there was ever something that would always make the stoic, calm and collected Kage's blood boil, that was a subject that anyone, even Ayasaki, herself, should be extremely cautious of. Reika bowed her head apologetically, chastising herself for such stupidity and angering her master. I'm sorry, Isu-sama. I didn't mean to offend. What else do you have? He questioned with a slight growl, neither accepting nor denying her apology. This knowledge was not lost on the female summon. Sir too. More things but, he repeated, his patience wearing thin, not with her, mostly because of that comment she made which brought up traumatic memories. One of the things you probably already expected and the other Welia might get angry, Isu narrowed his eyes ever so slightly, the sun's rays reflecting off his blue eyes and chocolate-brown hair made him look even more imposing. Reika, frankly I am already furious with that comment you made. I highly doubt anything you say will top making me remembering that, will make it any worse. Reika gulped and decided to just go for it. Well, has already unlocked his bloodline, that which we know of for a complete fact. Instead of angry, the Reikage actually looked intrigued. Is that so? Interesting. So Naruto, you've done it at last. I wonder which level of the Rujujinsaku, celerity of the Dragon God, you'll have unlocked before I use Reiansu to split your skull open. He thought evilly, in anticipation. You're right, I did expect that. Daihan did suppress his mental state, which ties into the nervous system. It activating was probably the only way it wouldn't have overwhelmed him. Truly, a remarkable bloodline. Reika nodded. It's likely Rujujinsaku was activated whenever the Daihan suppression seal was destroyed, likely by the Kyubi himself. It's the only logical conclusion. I find it extremely unlikely that the Namikaze would have even been aware his potential was being limited, let alone know how to get rid of it at such a young age. Even Isu wasn't sure about that one. That brings up another question. How is the Kyuubi knowledgeable of seals that are of alchemic, and subsequently, European, in origin? I could understand if the suppression seal was Fuinjutsu, but it isn't. They're not even close to being the same thing. I had always thought the bijou were primarily an en phenomena. His eyes grew to slits. Daihan, you bastard, what the hell have you been hiding from me? There will be hell to pay for the lords of alchemy if I find you've been deceiving me. He gritted his teeth in frustration. Damn him. Isu-sama? Reika asked cautiously, unsure of her master's temperament. Calming himself down, he ran his hand through his hair. Sorry, I just didn't like being in the unknown. All of my plans are built on the idea of my knowledge. Knowing is half the battle. Now I have questions that I don't have concrete answers to. I just feel a bit, he shuddered a bit, insecure. Reika nuzzled him again to ease his worry. It's okay, Isu-sama. You're not perfect, not to me, and not to anyone. You just made a mistake, that's all. It happens, thanks, I really appreciate it, he gratefully replied to her for bringing him back to earth. He heaved another sigh. Okay, so that's the last one that's supposed to get me all angry and whatnot? Rather than keep him in suspense, Reika decided to just blurt it out bluntly. Rai and I felt 3 unique chakra signatures in the land of waves, draconic, feline, and avian in nature. Considering the Namikaze boy's bloodline and his close bond with his 2 friends, we can only assume Varandan, Byakko, and Zelos are currently in some form going to choose them as their successors. There was silence. Dead fucking silence. There was no movement from either party. No eye contact. Nothing. That's when she felt it. Isu was leaking chakra in waves in pure, unadulterated rage. So. Even in death, you managed to fuck with my life again, Minato. You bastard, he roared in complete fury. He started to laugh as his chakra came down almost the second he unleashed it. Oh, this is so rich. This is great, actually I am going to kill you even harder now, Naruto. Even if you are of the dragon lineage you will still fall by my hand, and this time, the Namikaze will stay dead. His vengeance felt palpable to his senses. Reika smirked. Of course they will. We'll make them all pay. Hiruzenth elders Muramasaith remnants of the Namikaze that Uzumaki sacred summons Naruto, yes. All of them will burn for what they did to me. Minatoyer's son will burn for your sins of taking what wasn't yours, you bastard. Isu reached into his pocket and pulled out an object. Reika's eyes widened. He still had that? In Isu's hand was a tri-pronged kunai. Tossing it in the air, Isu drew Reiansu with speeds even Reika had trouble following and bifurcated it horizontally and vertically. That resolved it. Even with the knowledge that he would be up against 3 legendary summoning contracts that didn't deter the Raikage, at all. If anything, it reinforced his resolve to liquidate Konoha, dragons, tigers, or phoenixes be damned. If Varandan, Byakko, and Zelos desired to make this war even more personal than by the gods, they would get their wish. By 3 years' end, he'd be sitting on the throne as king, just as he always should have. 1845 hours, land of waves, 10 miles to Tazuna's house. To say Zabuza Momochi had a very bad day was probably the mellowest form of an understatement conceivable. He wasn't just losing. Oh no, he wasn't just merely losing. The missing Nin had gotten his ass stomped 6 ways to Sunday by the combined effort of the copy ninja and that blonde genin. He was bruised all over, had various cuts, and bled profusely in various places on his body. Now, that wasn't to say he didn't dish out any damage. Far from it. Both ninja had their share of injuries from some lucky hits he had managed to get in, but other than that, the 2 were more than ready to tango the missed ninja. Worse, the pink and black-haired genin both were still fresh and barely moved a muscle since his fight with the 2 began some 10 or 15 minutes ago. Damn it! That blonde kid is just too fast. Zabuza noted, panting heavily, barely able to stand. That genin swordsmanship skill was undeniably prodigious no matter how you tried to define it. He easily kept up with him. Were it not for his plethora of combat experience, Zabuza knew for a fact that Naruto would have ended his life within 5 minutes, tops, of the match beginning. Adding to the fact that the copy ninja was here, his chances of victory were looking pretty grim. I doubt even Haku will make a difference at this point. Zabuza grimly thought, glaring at the 2 Jounin-level shinobi. I told you, Zabuza, you didn't stand a chance against my team, Kakashi smugly reminded him. Normally, he didn't like to gloat, but goddamn did he have his pride as a sensei. They had made him proud today. Zabuza looked on angrily, knowing the elite Jounin was correct. You bastards, I'll kill you both, right now, he roared, going through a plethora of hand seals. Kakashi was about to step in before Naruto held a hand up, stopping him prematurely. The ashen-haired veteran huffed in amusement. Looks like Naruto wanted to finish him off. It was fine by him. Their victory was practically assured. Suiton, Suryuden no Jutsu, Water Release, Water Dragon Bullet, Zabuza called out after going through a surplus of hand seals. The water in the lake started to form a Chinese dragon that sped towards the 2 Jounin at rapid speeds. Kakashi jumped out of the way, but Naruto spun his black-clothed katana behind him, waiting in anticipation. Cocky little bastard thinks he can stand up to my most powerful Suiton jutsu? Zabuza thought angrily. At the last second, Naruto dodged to the left using Ibitsumi to appear underneath the attack, and then did the last thing Zabuza expected. He pivoted to the right and with all of his strength cut the water dragon completely in half lengthwise. Zabuza's eyes widened in complete shock as the water waved back down to a stoic blonde. If you're out of jutsu, then I'm going to end this now, Naruto vowed, using his created speed technique to phase out of existence again, leaving a trail of after images. The ex-swordsman of the mist searched frankly for the blonde to no avail before realizing he was above him about 10 meters. Naruto had his sword raised in the air and his eyes started to glow with a distinctive silver aura, but very clearly his irises were still their cerulean color. Small torrents of wind started to encircle the blade portion of his sword in a cylinder shape. Take this. Kenjutsu, Futon, Senmofu, sword technique, wind release, rotating ferocious wind. Thrusting his blade downwards, the torrents turned into a full-blown cyclone of destruction, hitting the missing Nin full force. The gyratory gales were so strong that nearly all of the lake's water was taken with it, doubling its power as Zabuza flew back into several trees, completely immobile. Tazuna, throughout the entire battle, had his jaw on the ground. This kid, while he did have help, had practically steamrolled an infamous runaway shinobi with medium difficulty on his part. Granted, had he not had Kakashi's help, the battle would have lasted a lot longer, but the feat was undeniable nonetheless. Sasuke and Sakura, who, quite literally in fact, didn't move from their spots during the entire battle, smirked inwardly, mentally congratulating their blonde best friend for the ass-kicking their leader just handed out. Way to go, Naruto-kun. Totally kicked that eyebrowless freak's ass. Cha! Were the thoughts of a certain Rosette Kunoichi. She was grinning ear to ear and congratulatory fist pump. Heh, you finally mastered that technique, Naruto. Good on ya, bro, were the thoughts of the Uchiha Scion. Meanwhile, Zabuza was struggling to move as he had multiple gnashes in virtually every part of his body. His back ached from being blown back into a tree about 100 meters away from the lake, which had half of its liquid contents displaced. The injured runaway looked up to see Naruto walking towards him. In a steady, even pace. How are you so strong? Naruto couldn't help but smirk. I do plenty of push-ups, sit-ups, and drink plenty of juice, Naruto replied sarcastically, resting his blade on his shoulder. Zabuza gritted his teeth at being mocked by a mere child. You little runt. You dare mock me, a 7 swordsman of the mist? The same swordsman who just got his ass handed to him by a genin? Naruto retorted with an amused eyebrow raised. That tidbit only seemed to infuriate Zabuza even more as he struggled to no avail. Stop struggling. I intentionally missed some of your vitals. He then looked at parts of his chest. Some of them more successful than others. Either way, I targeted some of your ligaments. No permanent damage of course, haven't quite gotten that good, but it immobilizes you long enough for me to finish you off permanently, Naruto coldly intoned. Zabuza gritted his teeth, and just before the blonde swordsman could claim his head, 2 Senbon needles flew through the air and struck him in the right side of his neck, dropping him to the wet ground instantly. I have to applaud you, Konoha ninja. Taking down an A-class nukenin as a mere genin is no small feat, a soft voice complimented from above him. Naruto, Squad 7 and Tazuna gazed up at the newcomer. It was a hunter nin off average height, and judging from the attire, from Kirigakure. Who are you? Naruto asked, semi-rhetorically, although he obviously had an idea. I'm a hunter ninja. I've been tracking Zabuza for months now, hoping to find and ideally, eliminate him, the hunter nin explained. You wore him down, so that's why I didn't interfere. No need to make my job harder than it needed to be. Yeah, kind of a dick move, you know. Stealing my first kill and all, Naruto replied with an annoyed scowl. But you know it's cool, it's cool. Clearly, it wasn't, as the blonde didn't even bother to hide his indignation and displeasure. Kakashi, Tazuna, Sasuke, and Sakura finally walked up behind the blonde as the hunter nin vanished and reappeared by Zabuza's immobile body. He picked it up by the shoulders. Please excuse me while I dispose of the body properly. Sakura's eyes narrowed. Wait, a miniaturant hunter ninja supposed to dispose of the body at the kill site? She questioned, suspicious of the hunter ninja. The Kiri ninja didn't miss a beat. Ordinarily, yes. But me village's method of disposal is unique, and in front of me are 4 Konoha ninja, 2 of which easily defeated an A-class ninja from our bingo book. I will not allow you to see our methods and cause an OPSEC, operational security, violation. Sakura nodded understanding, even if in the back of her mind something didn't feel right. The sentiment was shared with the rest of her team. The Kiri ninja bowed and then vanished along with Zabuza's corpse. Well, then, Kakashi spoke a bit awkwardly as he lowered his headband over his left eye like usual. Bitch stole my kill, Naruto huffed, supremely annoyed. He spun his blade stylishly and sheathed it with a clank. Heh, don't worry about it, Naruto-kun, I'm sure you'll get it soon. Sakura smiled, grabbing hold of his hand and hugging him affectionately from behind. Sasuke, seeing the gesture, clenched his fists. It was an action that didn't go unnoticed by the Cyclopean Jounin. Wait a minute, I am not seeing things, am I? Oh, for fuck's sake, not only do I have to deal with their abilities being abnormal teenage hormones as well? Fuck my life. Kakashi heaved a heavy sigh, not really in the mood to, well, ever really, deal with this shit. Come on, everyone. Tazuna's house isn't that far away, right? Kakashi asked toward the alcoholic bridge builder. Ah. Yes, of course it isn't. We should easily make it before nightfall. I'll lead the way. Tazuna offered with a smile. He knew he was in damn good hands. There was not a single doubt in his mind that these 4 were going to take down Gato. Unknown location, unknown time, Zabuza awoke suddenly after Senbon were pulled, rather harshly, from his neck. Ugh. Damn it, Haku. I told you to only do that when necessary. I hate it when you put me in this state. The hunter nin, apparently named Haku, pulled off his mask, showing a flamboyant and youthful face. Sorry, Zabuza-sama, but it was the only way to save your life. Thanks, Zabuza told him, genuinely grateful, to which Haku smiled. That blonde kid, Haku's smile dropped and was replaced with a frown. He's powerful, very powerful. I'm honestly not sure even I would be able to defeat him. His speed easily surpasses my own. Indeed, Zabuza agreed. Add to the fact that we not only have to deal with him, there's also the copy ninja himself. Haku nodded. Yeses are the other two. My gut feeling tells me that those aren't ordinary genin. Jounin level I'd reckon. Their chakra signatures far surpass those of mere genin. We're going to need a plan if we're going to take them down, kill that blasted bridge builder, and keep our lives, Zabuza bitterly realized. How long will it take you to fully heal me? Haku scratched his chin. At bare minimum, a week. But that's wishful thinking and assumes everything goes well when I heal you. But, more than likely, I'd say 2-3 weeks, tops. That earned the fake hunter a grunt. Very well, then. At least it gives me enough time to figure out what we're going to do. Help me up, he ordered, which his apprentice obeyed without question. Something tells me that there's more to that team that meets the eye. I just hope whatever plan you come up with Zabuza-sama will be victorious. Wave Country, Tazuna's house, 2000, Squad 7 had arrived at Tazuna's home, close to an hour and a half ago and had practically made themselves home. There, they had met Tazuna's rather attractive daughter, Tsunami. She was a sweet and kind lady, welcoming the team into her home as if they had known each other for years. Her son, on the other hand, wasn't assness per se. Technically, he wasn't hostile or anything of that nature, he just kept his distance from the team, preferring to not get to know any of them. Which was perfectly fine by them. They were here to do a job, if they made friends, it was fine, if not, then there was nothing they could do but just accept it. Dinner wasn't going to be for another half hour and Naruto and Sakura decided to go exploring in the town together for both intelligence purposes as well as wanting to spend some time enjoying each other's company. Sasuke, however, was brooding on the roof, silently twirling the sickle of his Kusarigama. He perked up feeling a presence behind him. "A Ryu for your thoughts?" Kakashi asked sitting next to him. Sasuke sighed. Kakashi-sensei, it's complicated, he said cryptically, but Kakashi knew exactly what he was talking about. It's about Sakura, isn't it? He coolly deduced. The Uchiha Scion's eyes widened to their greatest extent in shock. How did you dash, please, Sasuke? Kakashi interjected. Any idiot could tell both you and Naruto feel more than just a sisterly bond with our resident female squad member, he casually remarked as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Sasuke looked down at the ground a bit dejected. Is it really that obvious? Put it like this, Tsunami asked me about it in private when you three were out of earshot, Kakashi revealed, chuckling a bit, his eye taking on a U shape. Wow, was all Sasuke could say. He barely knew the woman for 2 hours give or take and yet she already picked up on his biggest secret. Sensei, I don't know, I mean I like her a lot. Even with the reforms at the academy, she's the only kunoichi that I have complete and utter respect for, both as a person and a friend. Hinata meets those criteria, yes, but she's not even close to being in the same league as her. Why haven't you tried taking the plunge? It's complicated, like I said. I don't know if she feels the same way or if it'll ruin our friendship that she knows that I have feelings for her or if she thinks of me only as a brother or bullshit, Kakashi said bluntly, actually turning serious for once. His student needed a lesson and his help, no need for his usual laid-back attitude. What? Sasuke replied back dumbly, clearly not expecting that response at all. Exactly what I said, Sasuke. You're feeding me bullshit excuses and beating around the bush. All those reasons, while they may be valid in some sense, it's not the real reason you're afraid. Let's keep it real, Sasuke, the only reason you're afraid to take the plunge is because of Naruto. Sasuke's eyes widened, caught red-handed. Yes, he admitted reluctantly, biting his lip and squeezing his knees tightly. Kakashi nodded. Just as I thought. You don't know how he would feel if you took the plunge regardless of whether or not she returned your feelings. That's the thing, Kakashi-sensei. I don't know how she feels about me. Booty think. Kakashi's eye widened as realization dawned on him just exactly what was holding the Uchiha Scion back. You think she has feelings for our blonde, don't you? Sasuke nodded solemnly, closing his eyes in a vain attempt to keep from shedding tears. Idash always gives him more attention than me, she always looks up to him for guidance, far more physically affectionate to him. Yeah, she's affectionate to me too, but with Naruto she's far more, he didn't want to say it. Intimate? Kakashi finished. Yeah that, Sasuke bitterly choked out. Well, I don't get it. You say she's far more intimate with him than you, but they don't act like a couple at all, save for some small gestures here and there that might seem a bit odd, but nothing I couldn't see her giving to you if given the chance, Kakashi retorted, not necessarily not believing him, but was earnestly trying to understand where the brunette was coming from. It's not that simple, Sasuke replied, shaking his head and gazed up at the night sky. Sensei ve lived, slept, ate, and trained together for 4 years, 24/7/365. There wasn't a single day where we didn't spend time together. Hell, honestly the longest the three of have been apart is about 12 hours, tops, and even then I'm pretty iffy. We know each other practically inside and out, our idiosyncrasies, dreams, insecurities, just about everything. And yet, this subject somehow never came up throughout all of that. Kakashi challenged, earning him a look from the Uchiha. Kakashi shrugged. Sasuke, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for you, just to spare you your feelings. I'd like to think of myself as a good, if not, great sensei. So with that being said, you need to know if you all knew each other inside and out like you say, how come Sakura hasn't picked up on your feelings? You know, truth be told, there isn't a single hour that question doesn't pass through my mind. I fear it's because she still views me as a brother and not a potential lover, and views Naruto as, he trailed off, not wanting to finish that sentence in his head, let alone aloud. It's alright, Sasuke really -NOIT isn't. Sasuke interjected with a slight shout, tears of fury and envy flowing freely. Kakashi didn't even bother trying to hide his flinch. He's my brother in all but blood, a person I would follow to hell and back without the slightest bit of hesitation, and I'd die for him. He then punched the roof, causing a slight dent. Gritting his teeth, he confessed, but when I see the way she looks at him, the devotion, the affection, the love, I just can't help but feel thoughts of pure rage and jealousy. No matter how hard I try to bury it, every time I see her give him a bit more attention, to him holding his hand, sleeping on his shoulder, cuddling with him resting his head on her lap after a hard day of training. I remember a month ago when we took our exams, she kissed him good luck on the cheek. I was so angry and upset, and something inside me just wanted to just snap. There are some extremely brief times where I genuinely despise Naruto because he has her affection. Him. My own brother. Because of a girl, and, he exhaled softly, calming down a bit, you must think I'm some sort of petulant child throwing a tantrum, don't you? Sasuke mused, wiping his tears and swallowing hard. In some sense, yes, Kakashi admitted. He then smiled and put a hand on his shoulder and gripped firmly. But at least you let out what you were feeling instead of just letting it build up. Know this though, I'll be here to help you through it and be here for any grievances. Contrary to popular belief, I'm a pretty good listener. That being said, you do need to figure out a way to resolve this without this ending badly for all three of you. I'm not saying you need to come up with a solution, now, or hell even 6 months from now. But you do need to find one. Because if things tip to a boiling point, bringing it down to a cooler temperature may be impossible. I see, Sasuke nodded. Thanks for listening, Kakashi sincerely means a lot. The Cyclopean Jounin gave him a thumbs up. Sasuke-kun. Kakashi-sensei. Dinner's ready. Sakura called out from under them. Guess they got back a bit earlier than expected. Alright, that's our cue. Come on, let's eat a nice hot meal. Kakashi then jumped off the roof along with Sasuke, who was still lost in his thoughts. If things tip to a boiling point, bringing it down to a cooler temperature may be impossible. Sasuke scoffed silently. Things couldn't get that bad. Right? Later that evening, dinner with Tazuna's family was mostly a quiet and enjoyable one, with fair bits of small talk and fellowship. There was one party however, who wasn't so keen on the Shinobi team. Tsunami's son kept throwing dirty looks at the quartet and it was honestly starting to piss the rosette-haired girl off. "All right, team," Kakashi addressed everyone. "Here's the game plan. Tomorrow, we'll take 3-hour shifts guarding over Tazuna-san. I'll go first, so you three can sleep a bit longer. Naruto will go next, then Sakura, then Sasuke will finish off the day and escort him home. Any objections?" Kakashi was met with silence and took that as a confirmation. "All right, good. Remember, Zabuza may be dead but that doesn't mean he was the only Jounin Gato hired. Remember, hope for the best, and assume the worst. Don't worry Kakashi-sensei. We'll protect Tazuna, count on it," Naruto vowed, grinning. "Why do you all even bother?" Inari asked, no longer being able to hold his tongue anymore. Naruto turned to him with a raised eyebrow. "Why do we even bother?" "Kid, we're protecting your grandfather, one would think you'd be happy about that. Gato is too strong. He'll just kill you just like he's killed everyone else." Inari exclaimed in ire. "Inari!" Tsunami chastised, which was ignored. "As if," Sasuke snorted, dismissing his claim with a wave. "Gato is just a power-hungry asshole, whose money is the sole reason he has any sort of control over you. Take that away and he's just an ordinary man if you can call him that," he added in disgust. "What would you four know, anyway? You don't know what it feels like to suffer and have someone have control over you with everything you've loved gone in an instant." Inari yelled. Kakashi's eye widened. "Oh shit." The room was so quiet after that proclamation that the copy ninja would swear to the day he died that he heard a pin drop. Then it happened. The entire room was filled with massive amounts of killing intent. Squad 7 was glaring daggers at the 8-year-old boy, who started to sweat in genuine fear. "We didn't know suffering? Did he really just say that in front our faces?" Naruto questioned as he was struggling to not lash out at the boy for that completely asinine and ignorant comment. Sasuke had his Sharingan turned on and his hand subconsciously reached for his Kusarigama. "So what if I am?" Inari boldly challenged. Before Naruto could even react, there was a pink blur and Inari found himself slammed against the wall with an enraged Kunoichi holding him by his collar. Her eyes held rage that betrayed her natural beauty and suddenly turned the shade of her hair. The death glare she gave the poor kid caused him to nearly defecate in his pants. "Now listen you little shit," Sakura hissed. "I'm going to tell you this right fucking now. You don't know a goddamn thing about the three of us. Let me run you a scenario, shall we? Tell me, Inari, were you abused and touched in places you consider sacred? Looked at as only a simple object for someone to play out their sick fetishes and fantasies? Were you?" she asked rhetorically, in a shriek of rage. Tsunami, Tazuna and Kakashi's jaws dropped to the floor, understanding the implications, while the other two genin remained stoic. "No? Okay, let's keep going then. Did your mother ever ignore any potential injuries you ever had because someone who was supposed to be a father figure abused you in just about every way possible? Did she always take the side of the abuser, because she was so addicted to drugs and alcohol?" Inari was stunned into silence, but Sakura wasn't done. Not by a long shot. "Oh, wait, you still have your mom, don't you? Did you grow up completely alone? Shunned and hated for something you didn't have any control over? Walking around carrying a burden that everyone should be thanking you for, and yet, being ignorant assholes, they treat you like a social pariah? Were you forced to eat unhealthy foods because it was the only thing you could afford and you didn't know any healthy alternatives even existed, due to not being properly educated, which goes back to said populace disliking you for something you had no control over? Well, wait a minute, back up, let's assume you did have a family. An older brother, for example, whom you looked up to and respected more than anything? You had two other best friends who you considered family, and you had a mom that was training you. Life seems to be good, doesn't it? Now then imagine coming home one night and finding that the brother you looked up to had just fucking murdered your whole surrogate family that was just starting to warm up to you. Sasuke-kun, Naruto-kun, and I have been through hell. The only reason we got through it was because we had each other and a woman I'm damn proud to call my Ka-san took the time to nurture, care and show us the shinobi way. Far better than the bitch who gave birth to me, Sakura venomously spat. She now put her birth mother in the same category as Tetsuya. If she got in the way of her killing her bastard ex-stepfather, she'd join him as well, and wouldn't shed a single tear after the deed was done. As far as she was concerned, Mikoto was her mother, Masaki only just happened to give birth to her. Nothing more and nothing less. For you to just sit here and say we don't know what it means to suffer is an insult at best and an outright death wish at worst. How dare you spit on the dedication and hard work our Ka-san put into turning our lives around for the better. If you weren't a kid and related to our client, I would have seriously considered killing you on the spot for that insult, she revealed, her glare intensifying. Sakura was dead serious with that final proclamation. Tsunami's eyes widened in fear and Kakashi's eyes narrowed. That's enough, Sakura. Let him go and stand down, he ordered sternly. The kunoichi was reluctant to back down, even as her eyes went from the shade of her hair, back to their normal forest green. She unceremoniously dropped him to the ground with a sneer. The kunoichi didn't even give him a second glance, strolled toward the door. I'm going out. Naruto stood up suddenly and grabbed her hand. Sakura-chan, where are dash, don't follow me, Naruto-kun. Please, she pleaded, looking at him with soft eyes, a stark contrast to the ire she had shown seconds earlier. The two male genin eyes widened a bit. Both of them knew that look. It was the same look she always had when something troubled her. Slowly, but ever so surely, the two genin parted hands. Giving the blonde an apologetic look, she vanished using the Hanakairi Shunshin. The only evidence of her presence in the household were cherry blossom petals that scattered across the tiled floor. PFT, Sasuke scoffed. Nice going, kid. Pissing her off is something that even Naruto and I don't trifle with. Inari didn't comment or rebuke. Hell, he barely acted as if he heard the Uchiha Scion at all. I'm heading out as well, Naruto declared, picking up his katana and tying it to his back. I'll be back before my shift tomorrow, Kakashi-sensei, he promised. Heaving a sigh, Kakashi nodded in the affirmative. Naruto blurred out of existence in a burst of speed not even a second later. Turning his head towards his remaining student, Kakashi asked, I take it you're doing the same? Sasuke scoffed and gathered his things. You're strong enough to guard Tazuna-san and his family without us, no? The remark was dripping with sarcasm and snark. Sasuke left the house without another word uttered. Kakashi-san, what Sakura-san said, was it true? Tsunami asked after making sure her son was all right. Although obviously during the moment she didn't like what the Rosette had done, but, perhaps, in hindsight it could give her son some hope, even it did have to be harsh. To be honest, 10 minutes ago I was just as ignorant about their situation as you three were, Kakashi admitted, heaving a sigh for the umpteenth time. You're kidding, Tazuna remarked, genuinely surprised by that revelation. I'm not, Kakashi reaffirmed with a shake of his head. You have to understand. Even though I'm their sensei, those three have major trust issues and are fiercely protective of each other and Mikoto-san, their mother. As I'm sure Inari here has found out. Though his comment was a bit out of line, I'm glad he did it. Why's that? Tazuna asked with a raised eyebrow. Because I now have a better idea of how to help them move on from their emotional issues. Even the greatest of ninja can't hide flaws within their own personalities. Now that I know what I'm working with, I can plan accordingly. I see, the bridge builder nodded in understanding. I just hope they'll be okay to complete the mission. Deep in a forest, 2200, damn that brat. Sakura growled. She swung her staff so hard at a tree that she practically uprooted it with ridiculous ease. Swing after swing and punch after punch, it was to no avail. it seemed as if nothing could dissipate her anger. The final punch was soft and barely scratched the bark. Falling to her knees, Sakura openly wept. Why do I feel this way? I thought being with Naruto-kun and Sasuke-kun would make everything better, but she sniffed out to herself. She bit her lip, continuing to weep, and slammed her fist into the bark again. I'm a proud kunoichi and yet I feel so utterly useless and weak, she chastised herself. She had lost control of her emotions like a child. The kid was only ignorant, but she had just barely stopped herself from killing the boy in a fit of rage. Worst, she had enjoyed it. That sense of power, fear and control. Had her stepfather's action subconsciously rubbed off on her? Her eyes widened. No. I'm nothing like that sick bastard, she denied vehemently. No, Sakura-sama, you aren't. Sakura immediately grabbed her staff and turned around in a battle stance, purely on reflex. What she saw made her eyes elongate to their maximum in complete shock. Lying in the grass on all fours was a large tiger. By Sakura's guess, if it were stand up on all fours, she was positive that, at best, the top of her head would barely reach its shoulders. Its paws were easily twice, if not 3 times, the size of her face. Not only was the apex predator huge, it was extremely well proportioned, not having too much of one thing in certain parts of its anatomy. Sakura stepped back a bit, the shock of seeing a fully grown oversized tiger momentarily blocking out her ninja training. How hatho do you a tiger? Sakura asked incoherently, still hardly believing the sight before her. I understand you have many questions. But, we are a bit short on time. My name is Bayu. My kind has been watching you for quite some time, now. Sakura was now confused. Wait, what? You've been watching me? How? Since when? Your heart is the most in tune with my kind since the days even before the Shinobi clan. Wars. Nearly all of our human masters have been female, and since the days of our original mistress, nor Bayako-sama has never seen a kunoichi quite like you, ferociously protective of who they love to a fault and will make no apologies for it, even despite your own personal tragedy. To say you have a lot of untapped potential is a vast understatement. Sakura started to relax, a bit, digesting the info bit by bit. She then perked up. Wait a minute. Bayako is real. I thought he was just a legend. Like the other 3 sacred beasts. That's where you'd be wrong. Bayako-sama is most definitely real, that much I will assure you, Bayu answered before giving her ferocious, but good-natured, grin. Besides Sayuri speaking to a talking tiger at this very moment. Heh, Sakura huffed, amused, becoming more and more comfortable by the second. Point conceded, Bayu-san, she smiled, before turning back serious. You still haven't answered my question. Why me? Why now? Instead of answering, Bayu stood on all fours, causing Sakura to step back a bit. He really was huge. He had to be at least 13 feet tall from the top of his head to the ground. Powerful muscles were shown and well defined even through stripes on his fur. His silver eyes glowed and a dimensional portal appeared behind him. Come, more will be explained on the way. You have to meet Bayako-sama, yourself. He will explain everything. Sakura sighed and nodded. How this tiger had earned her trust so easily, she'd never understand to the day she died. That being said, it was do or die, so she followed the massive predator into the great beyond. The portal closed the minute the end of Bayu's tail crossed the threshold. With Sasuke, Katan, Goken Hosha, fire release, hell flame emission. Sasuke called out, spitting out scarlet-colored flames at Boulder, seeing how fast he could melt it like ice. Truth be told, he was pissed, but not anywhere close as his pink-haired crush. Out of the 3 of them, Sasuke had it the best, relatively. As awful as it was for him, he knew, when it came down to it, Sakura and Naruto were fucked with by destiny practically from day one. Even with the loss of his clan, he still had his mother, his real mother. The scorching heat of the Goken Hosha continued to burn the boulder, the heat wave not bothering Sasuke in the slightest as his eyes glowed from the light the flames lit up, reflecting an inner turmoil that desired to be the best. Sensing a presence behind him, Sasuke swiftly turned on his right heel, Sharingan activated. He was left speechless. Ityu. Up in the branches of the tree was the same silhouette he saw at the academy 4 years ago. Those same ruby-red eyes once again seemed to be judging him, yet again, as he felt his whole body go numb again. Gritting his teeth, he glared profusely at the figure. "No! You won't take control of me!" Sasuke defiantly roared, his Sharingan spinning, as regained control of his limbs. "Good. I had my doubts about you, Sasuke-sama, even till recently. But you just showed me you have what it takes to be the bearer of the mantle of responsibility. Resisting my control is not for the weak-minded." "What? Mantle of responsibility? Just who or what the hell are you? Are you the reason I keep having those utterly awful visions? What does it mean? Why me? What the hell is Germania and what does it have to do with me?" Sasuke practically demanded. The creature seemed to chuckle. "Yes, you'll do just fine. As for your question, how about I just show you instead?" Sasuke's mysterious creature stepped into the light and let the shroud of darkness surrounding him fall, giving the Uchiha a clear view of its appearance. His jaw dropped to the ground in total shock. "Yuyuri Iuri A. Yes, Sasuke-sama. I'm a phoenix," he revealed, showing off the gorgeous red feathers that covered his entire body. Sasuke could see small flames here and there on tips the stunning quills. Scarlet irises seemed to hold wisdom gathered over centuries. "I'm going to answer all of your questions in order. As you just found out, I'm a phoenix and my name is Kikoo and the liaison between humans and Zelo-sama, our king. While it's far too complicated to go into complete detail, the mantle of responsibility is the duty of all phoenixes to preserve life when we can and utterly destroy those who threaten the balance of the world. On the flip side, we must rebuild what we destroy into something greater. Yes, I am the one who passed those visions to you. I did so because I thought it would be necessary for you to know what fate will befall this world if you three don't stop the summoner of the Thunderbirds. He will destroy everything in his quest for revenge." "Wait, as three? You mean Naruto and Sakura?" The phoenix nodded. "Yes. Just like I, a phoenix, am speaking to you, the legendary dragons. And tigers are offering for them to become their human masters." Sasuke swallowed hard. "Iz," he replied slowly. A live phoenix was talking to him. A phoenix, for fuck's sake. To top it off, apparently he was supposed to be their new master and take on a mantle? "'Tis a lot to take in." Kikoo smirked. "You're actually taking it better than I thought you would," the legendary Firebird admitted. Sasuke returned his expression. "Haven't I kept surprising you for 4 years? What? Think I'd start now?" he retorted with a snicker. "Point taken, Sasuke-sama," Kikoo conceded, surprised at the boy's quick wit. But alas, they had important matters to deal with. "I promised I'd tell you more about your vision. That city you saw was the capital of Germania, Berlin." "That city was enormous, ridiculous, it was," the Phoenix agreed. "But that's because it's the capital city. Believe it or not, it's barely considered a medium-sized city in the grand scheme of things in Europa. Roma in Italia, Versailles in Francia, all easily dwarf it. Pendragon's capital city of the Holy Britannia Empire is comparable to the size of Kumogakure itself." Sasuke's eyes widened. Kumogakure's size was ridiculous no matter how you tried to spin it. Even putting every single hidden village in the elemental nations in one spot, you still wouldn't come halfway close to its sheer gargantuan size. The village redefined the phrase, compensating for something. "I see," Sasuke grunted. "That begs the question though. What do European affairs have to do with us?" "They're, literally, thousands of miles away from us. Kikuo took a deep breath. Truthfully, Sasuke-sama, I am unsure. But I do know that things have developed in the shadows for a while now and they are about to come to the light. The upcoming war, yes, make no mistake, there will be a war in the near future, will be unlike anything this entire continent has ever seen before. The summoner of the Thunderbirds has power that eclipses every Kage and village leader on this entire continent. It's not even close. You three are the only ones who have the potential to stop him. You keep talking about him as the summoner of the Thunderbirds. Just who is this guy that we supposedly have to take down or the world will be doomed? He is the Godame Raikage of the village hidden in the clouds. He is the wielder of the legendary sword, Reiansu, and the Thunderbirds' master. They used to be affiliated with Zero-sama, Kikuo revealed with venom at the last part. Alas, that is a conversation for a later day. The name of this Raikage is Isu Hayasaka. Sasuke immediately went on edge. He's the same guy that my team has been trying to locate. My Ka-san knows him, I'm sure of it. But she flat out refuses to say anything on the matter. Please, Kikuo-san, what is he? The phoenix visibly frowned and shook his head. I'm sorry, Sasuke-sama. I'm afraid I cannot disobey Varandan-sama. He has forbidden me, as well as the rest of the sacred clans, from disclosing that particular info. Naruto-sama will be the first to hear of Isu's connection to Mikoto. As for why I have to keep it from you, let's just say there are things I know that would irreparably damage the reputation of your village's leadership. His heart was heavy that he couldn't tell the boy the truth, no matter how desperately he wanted to. That, and as powerful as you two may become, only Naruto will have the power to truly finish him off. Sandame Hokage, as much as the blame does fall on Isu, your sins and negligence may inadvertently plunge this world into a darkness not seen since the days of the Jubi. As for you, Minato, I hope you made peace and forgave yourself, because honestly some small part of me doesn't even blame Isu after what you did. I suppose even all great men have their demons, some more than others, he added in thought to himself. Sasuke clenched his fists. Even now it's still always him at the center, huh? Sasuke indignantly remarked before calming down. So tell me, where do I sign up? World isn't saving itself. He half-heartedly shrugged his shoulders, taking this development in stride. Already wanting to play hero, Sasuke-sama, the liaison mused. Sasuke scoffed. Yeah, well, I have to find some fulfillment after being in second place. Lead the way. Very well, then, Kikuo bobbed his head and gave a flight call. A spiral of purple flames surrounded Sasuke. Seeing as how the flames didn't even cause him to sweat, he remained calm and closed his eyes, enjoying the sensation of warmth. Within a few short moments the flames overtook him and both phoenix and human vanished. The only traces of their presence were scorch marks on the ground. With Naruto, unknown location, Naruto slowly opened his eyes as he gazed to the ceiling to see stalagmites. What the hell? Was he in a cave? 1 minute he was training and collapsed from exhaustion, and in the next was here. So, I see you finally awakened, Naruto-sama, a deep voice intoned from behind him. Naruto drew his katana and immediately got into a battle stance. His eyes widened. A large black dragon, at least 40 feet tall, stood on his hind legs, relaxed. Swallowing hard, Naruto quickly regained his composure, and sheathed his sword. So a dragon talking to me as if I were you, master, Naruto said aloud, voicing his thoughts. His eyes narrowed. You brought me here for a reason, didn't you? I can tell you're not a genjutsu and you're real. Wherever we are, it's obvious we're not in wave country anymore. Astute as always, Naruto-sama. You were surprised, but you regained your composure, fitting of a warrior descended from our lineage. You'll make an exceptional leader, the dragon praised, clearly impressed that the boy showed no fear. Naruto gave a subtle sidelong look. So, I've been told, he whispered. So what does a dragon want with me? The draconic being snorted, fire embedding from its snouts. A dragon, you say? Please, boy. Our entire race is in need of your help in saving this world from an unspeakable darkness, young dragon ninja. Naruto raised an eyebrow. My help? Really? Sorry, but I'm a bit young to be trying to save the world. Fool. You'll see as soon as our other guests arrive. What? Other guests? About to throw a party in here and I didn't see the guest list? Naruto joked, in effort to hide his nervousness. Fuck it, it's all good as long you got ramen, grinned the blonde swordsman. Seeing a dragon speechless was probably the most hilarious thing the blonde genin had saw all month. It took everything in his power to not bust a gut right then and there. By the gods, this kid what a dynamic personality. Before the dragon could come up with a retort, a portal and a pillar of fire conjured to Naruto's left and right, respectively. Ah, you two have finally arrived by Yukiku. Indeed, Enryu. We came as soon as we could after quick explanations, Byaku quickly explained with Sakura by his side. Sasuke was revealed after the swirling firestorm, standing coolly by Kikuo. Sakura-chan. Naruto blinked in complete surprise. Naruto-kun? Sasuke-kun? Sakura replied back, equally as shocked. What are you guys doing here? All three chorused. All will be explained soon. Perhaps it's time for a change of scenery, Enryu suggested as he unfolded his wings, and with a roar, the cavern had vanished to be replaced by a large meadow. Hote's beautiful, Sakura smiled. Indeed, Sakura-sama, Byaku agreed. Now, then. Shall we begin? Without warning, the tiger vomited volumes upon volumes of water. Enryu blew out black flames and Kikuo blew out set a different part of the meadow on fire as well. From these conjugations, three enormous projections were seen, almost in the same vein as a hologram in a science fiction flick. Standing there in all of their majestic glory was the three boss summons of the dragons, phoenixes, and tigers, Varandan, Byaku, and Zelos, respectively. Their projections weren't to scale of their true size. If they were, they would have towered over everyone present like mere ants. Sakura-chan, it's good to finally meet you, Byaku kindly greeted, his presence oddly comforting the rosette-haired genin. Sakura bowed, blushing in embarrassment. Thank you, Byaku-sama, she respectfully replied back to the Tiger Emperor. Sasuke-kun, it still pleases me to know that you have not fallen prey to the darkness and arrogance that your fallen clan has in the past. I do offer my condolences, however. No one should have to lose a family like you did. I promise to help you rebuild it from the ashes and the Uchiha will flourish once again for generations. Zelos vowed, as he addressed the last Uchiha. I've made peace with it, Zelos-sama, Sasuke replied solemnly. It was a bold-faced lie that pretty much everyone saw through the moment it left his lips, but there was no point in calling him out on it at the moment. They had much more pressing matters. At last, Naruto. We finally meet, Varandan's voice deeply intoned, his voice echoing slightly showing his air of authority, even over his fellow peers. My name is Varandan, the king of all draconic kind in this world and the next. The blood of the dragon lineage flows through your veins, dragon ninja. 2 questions, Naruto said suddenly, trying to calm down a bit. His heart was pounding with anxiety. He was speaking to the king of creatures who, just a day ago, he thought were just myths and fairy tales. First, why are we only seeing projections of you? Why not talk to us in person? Secondly, Enryu called me a dragon ninja just a while ago as well. Why? What's this so-called dragon lineage? Varandan nodded, but the emperor answered his first question. Both excellent questions, Naruto-kun. The first one is quite simple, it's not that we can't, it's just that we won't. For a very specific reason, as powerful as we are, even we cannot suppress our vast and enormous reserves of chakra to the point where we could speak to you without attracting much attention. Our power easily rivals the tail beasts, Byako boastfully added with clear pride. Yo, Kyubi, how true is that? Naruto questioned his tenant. The powerful Biju had been awfully quiet throughout this entire ordeal. So quiet, that Naruto half expected him to not even answer him. Put it this way, kid, the last time I fought Byako eons ago I lost, the fox answered with extreme bitterness. Naruto winced in sympathy. The saltiness in his voice was undeniable. As for your second part of the question, we call you a dragon ninja because you, quite literally in fact, have dragon's blood coursing through your veins. The same blood that flows in me and Enryu also flows through you, Varandan revealed. All three genin went wide-eyed. Yo you mimi Naruto-kun is part dragon. Sakura exclaimed in shock. Sasuke whistled. And the surprises never stop. He then sighed. I should be used to this by now, he muttered under his breath. Kikuo smirked, hearing him clearly. Well, I wouldn't quite go that far, descriptive-wise, but, yes, essentially, Varandan confirmed, gauging their reactions. South villagers were right, I wasn't human after all, Naruto solemnly intoned, clenching his fists. No! Varandan bellowed, making the blonde jump. Make no mistake, Naruto. You are human, you just have access and powers natively common to our race. Where do you think you get your superhuman eyesight, reflexes, natural speed, abnormally large chakra capacity and eidetic memory? Our bloodline. It's called the Rujujinsaku, celerity of the dragon god. Rujujinsaku? I have an actual bloodline. With a name? Naruto blinked, a bit dumbly. Where did I get it? Zelos snorted. From your father, of course, the Phoenix King answered nonchalantly as if he were telling someone what time it was. Said query was asked of him. The silence that followed was deafening as Naruto froze. My father, he choked out. You knew him? Varandan closed his eyes, fighting off the regret eating away at him. I died was a descendant of the dragon lineage as well, except I didn't allow him to sign the contract because of questionable things he has done. In fact, you're the first descendant of the dragon lineage in centuries that I've allowed to sign the contract that will let us come to your aid. While all of that was indeed useful information, to Naruto, he couldn't care less at the moment, he just wanted to know one thing, Varandan Samaplistal Muho was my father, he practically begged the Dragon King. Your father Naruto is none other than Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage, he revealed. Sakura and Sasuke's jaws dropped to the floor, for what seemed to be the umpteenth time today. The blonde took a step back in denial. No. That can't be. Why would he? I refuse to believe that. Why would he seal the Kyubi into me? I was his son. Why me? Large flames flared for a split second on Zelo's body, showing his ire. You are a dragon ninja boy and yet you stand there and deny the truth, from the king of dragons himself, the phoenix roared furiously. I understand you're in shock, rightfully so, but to outright deny the obvious truth that I sense you believe deep inside your very soul is disgraceful. You are the last loyal descendant of the dragon lineage and we expect you to act like one. Zelos, stop, Varandan commanded, which the phoenix immediately obeyed. Narutolistan to me, your father sealed the fox in you for a reason, both moral and practical. You were a Namikaze and an Uzumaki hybrid. Of all the potential hosts, you were the perfect candidate in every single possible way. Minato-kun simply had no choice. Naruto nodded, understanding. Looking at things from an objective point of view, if he were in his father's shoes, could he, in good conscience, ask another parent to give up their child to stop the Kyubi's attack? Naruto shook his head in the negative. Hold on, Varandan-sama, Sakura spoke up, now intrigued by the semantics of the Dragon King's explanation. You said he was a hybrid, what do you mean by that? Do you mean, Naruto's from two clans? Byako raised an eyebrow. Yes, Naruto also has the blood of an Uzumaki, from his mother's side. I thought you all would know that, considering the Uzumaki role in the founding of your village. Sasuke drew a blank look. What are you talking about? As far as we were taught, the clans that founded the village were the Senju and my clan. We thought Uzumaki was just some random surname that Naruto was given when I was younger. Honestly, I don't even remember where I learned my surname from, Naruto admitted. So my mom was from a kick-ass clan too? Badass to the extreme, Naruto grinned. Flashes of rage ran through the eyes of Varandan, Byako, Zelos, Enryu, Bayu, and Kikoo as the six of them could come to only one reasonable conclusion. Is that so? Byako replied with an edge of venom lining his voice. Damn you, Hiruzen. Just how far did you go in your memory purge 20 years ago? If the boy decides to come for your head after he learns the truth, then I will gladly aid him. You're a disgrace to the Kage name. Yes, her clan was exceptionally powerful as well, Varandan agreed, sending silencing looks to all of the creatures present. They all understood, immediately. No one tells the three the truth unless either he permitted or third-party circumstances dictated the need. Her name was Uzumaki Kushina, powerful kunoichi indeed, easily surpassing Tsunade in prowess. Naruto's mom was stronger than Tsunade-sama. Sakura exclaimed. Tsunade was her two idols in life, the other being her surrogate mother. Indeed, Uzumaki Kushina was a deadly swordsman on the battlefield, taking down legions of enemy shinobi single-handedly. It earned her the nickname of Konoha no Kamakyu, Konoha's Scarlet Devil. The Uzumaki vitality and chakra flowed especially well within her, Zelos explained. Vitality? Is that where I get my large chakra pool from along with the fur ball being sealed inside me? No, Varandan refuted sharply. That's a very common misconception that persists to this day. The Uzumaki clan had special chakra for specific purposes and a long natural lifespan. They were just so powerful, that was the conclusion that they drew to. Your chakra capacity came from your father. The fox had absolutely nothing to do with it. Your father's chakra volume and stamina was ridiculous, even by the standards of the dragon lineage. Naruto nodded. Can you tell me the origins of my clan? He asked hopeful. Well, both, really. I really want to know what they were like, especially my father's side. Enryu frowned upon hearing that. Trust me, Naruto-sama. You really don't. Believe me, he thought to himself. To say the Namikaze clan was a royally screwed-up family would be a vast understatement. In time I will, but not now. Can you respect that? Varandan inquired, locking eyes with the genin. Do I have to like it? Came the snark reply. Heh, Varandan smirked, clearly amused. I suppose not. Naruto then smiled. All right then, I can respect it, then. I believe we spent enough time on the dragon ninja, wouldn't you say, Varandan? Zelos snorted, his annoyance clear as a summer day. Preaching to the choir on that one, Zelos-sama, Sasuke indignantly thought, agreeing with his Phoenix master. Very well, then. Normally, we were going to take you three through the trials to see if you were worthy, but then a bit of what you humans call common sense kicked in. If we didn't think you were worthy, we wouldn't have called upon you for your help. Why us, specifically? Byako spoke up, next. Like we've said before. You three were brought together by an act of destiny. You are the only ones who'll have the ability to stop the Raikage from plunging the world into darkness. The Raikage? Isu Hayasaka? The ninja that our Ka-san knows? Sakura gasped. Indeed. He is extraordinarily powerful. Only you three have the potential to defeat him, and even then it'll be the hardest fought battle of your lives. This man will stop at nothing to extract his revenge on Konoha. Power-hungry doesn't even come close to doing his character justice. He must be stopped at any cost. Naruto's eyes hardened as he looked towards both Sasuke and Sakura. Seeing his determined eyes, they both nodded to him. He gazed back up at the mythical projections. Truthfully, I really don't know exactly why this dude is so dangerous, nor do I understand why he wants revenge on Konoha. But frankly, I couldn't care less right now. If he destroys our village, then that would mean he'd, by default, kill our Ka-san too. That's reason enough for us to stop him, along with everything else you mentioned. Tell us what we have to do, said Sasuke, fully deciding to commit. For today, we're only doing 3 things: signing the contracts, giving you our gifts, and lastly, your familiars, Zelos decided. Our familiars? They chorused, confused. Yes. Familiars. Although once you sign the contracts you'll be able to call any number of our kind for situations, primarily, you'll have partners of our respective species, with you. You'll train with them, eat with them, among numerous things. I have no doubt that their devotion to the 3 of you will equal if not surpass their loyalty to the 3 of us, as they are learning the world just as you are, Bayako explained. Are you implying that they'll be considered infants to you? Naruto astutely questioned, narrowing his eyes. Clever, as I would expect you to be, Naruto, Varandan smirked. Yes. We've already picked them out. Sakura-chan's was born, literally, hours ago. You'll be both raising him and training him at simultaneously, young lady. Sakura gulped. This was the first time she was addressed by anyone other than Bayu or Bayako. She bowed quickly. I will try my best, Varandan-sama. Bayu smiled. Do you want to see him? He asked the kunoichi. Owlishly blinking, Sakura replied. Wait. He's here? Bayu chuckled and nodded and used his tail to wrap around an object snuggled against his back. The tiger liaison handed Sakura a tiger cub who had gray fur and black stripes. He was about the size of a fully grown house cat. Awakening, Sakura saw piercing sapphire-colored irises that were, in her opinion, even more exotic and beautiful than even Naruto's eyes. He's beautiful, Sakura complimented, gently snugging the tiger cub against her chest. The cub yipped in pleasure and purred as she ran her fingers down his spine column. He's a Maltese tiger, a male one, at that. His fur coating is extremely rare amongst my kind, Bayu told the kunoichi. He's your partner now until the day you die. Does he have a name? Bayu shook his head. Now thought you should have that honor, Sakura-sama, he insisted. What should I call you? Sakura thought aloud in wonder. You have gray fur, so how about Kaijin? The tiger cub yipped and licked her face approvingly, clearly pleased with her name choice. She laughed. Okay, Kaijin it is, then. His name means ash dust. How fitting, Bayako commented, his voice laced with approval as well. He won't be able to speak until he's about 6 weeks old, so get used to not being able to understand him for a while. Sakura nodded, understanding. Heh, congratulations, Sakura-chan. Naruto congratulated, giving her a thumbs up. The Uchiha gave a HN, congratulating in his own way. What about us? You two will have to do things a bit differently, Zelos said, causing both of them to raise an eyebrow. Different how? Instead of answering, Enryu and Kikoo both breathed flames in front of the 2 best friends, black and red respectively. When the blaze died, it revealed 2 oval-shaped eggs that were at least 1.5 feet tall. One that was a mixture of gold and pitch black and the other was a burning crimson. They won't just accept you immediately. You must do something that is worthy in their eyes and they will hatch when you need them the most, Varandan told them sternly. Don't even bother coming up with names, now. You don't know their genders, and honestly, neither do we. So in other words, until we're worthy of their respect and power, they won't bother even being born? Zelos and Varandan nodded in the affirmative. I see. Oh, well. Sasuke and I will just show them what we're made of, right bro? Sasuke smirked and bumped fists with his best friend. Challenge accepted, he declared, fully confident he and Naruto would pull through. Such a bond between close friends. I have no doubt now. Naruto and Sasuke, you two will correct where your fathers and family went so horribly wrong and break their respective curses. Don't forget about me, you two. I'll help you two out any way I can. Sakura promised, with Kaijin yipping, the Maltese cub throwing in his support. We'll do the last two things on the agenda simultaneously, Zelos offered, to which the other two nodded in acquiescence. A trio of 3-feet pillars rose from the ground at the king's call. Place your weapons in the designated spots. Sakura-san, tell Kaijin to stay away for a bit. The girl nodded and sat the cub down, much to his displeasure. She drew her staff and extended it to its full length. Naruto drew his sword and Sasuke took out his Kusarigama. Place them in their designated slots but do not let go. The golden trio looked at each other, before shrugging and doing what they were asked. Naruto stabbed the pillar, Sakura placed her staff like it was a key opening a door, and Sasuke did a combination of Naruto and Sakura's method. Surges of chakra coursed through their bodies as all three screamed out in pain. It felt as if their very skin was being peeled off, the chakra embedded itself on different parts of their bodies. Their weapons were being changed, upgraded, even past Muramesa's abilities. In less than a minute, the process was done and the trio recoiled back, panting heavily. By the gods, what the hell? Naruto indignantly cursed. He was about to go into a rant, before he saw his left arm. Embedded on the forearm was a tattoo of a black Chinese dragon that wrapped all around him. On Sakura's sternum, just below her collarbone, were tattoos in the shape of 2 tiger fangs. As for the Uchiha, on the back of his right hand was a pentagram surrounded by 2 circles with an intricately shaped phoenix in its center. Whenever you require our aid, just run your blood across the seals and use the Kuchios technique, hand seals in this order: boar, dog, bird, monkey, and finally ram, Byako instructed. The three nodded a bit, dumbstruck. Naruto. Your sword. Sasuke gaped. Naruto gazed at his sword and his eyes widened. His katana had changed. The blade looked sharp enough to cut through solid reinforced steel, and it reflected his image flawlessly. The handle and cloth was golden and black, with the latter being the primary color. The guard itself was a shade of saffron. The sheath had also changed, being black with golden flames running on the side. That is known as the Ryu no Kiba, Fang of the Dragon, the blade symbolizing the relationship between the dragons and descendants of the dragon lineage. You are its first wielder in centuries, Naruto-kun. It's up to you to unlock its vast potential. Wield it with pride, Varandan sternly warned, implying deathly consequences if he didn't. Sasuke-kun, take a look at yours, Zelos instructed. Glancing down, Sasuke did look intrigued. His Kusarigama had upgraded to where it had 6 blades in total, 3 for each handle. Instead of chain connecting to it, it was more akin to a whip sword. The Kiregi Hoso, Phoenix Claws, it primarily channels lightning and fire chakra. A perfect combination for you. Sasuke smirked. Perfect, he uttered simply. Zelos understood the Uchiha well enough to know that was his way of saying thank you. While I don't have a name for it, Sakura-chan. What you in your hand is an upgraded form of your staff. It's harder than diamonds and you can use chakra to extend it, indefinitely. It can do so more, but I'll leave that for you to discover as you grow stronger. Kaijin, there, will be with you every step of the way. Sakura beamed and bowed as low as she could. Thank you so much, Byako-sama. I promise I'll grow stronger. Kaijin bowed as well, but being a cub, he couldn't exactly do it well, which is why ended tumbling over and yipping in annoyance. All present shared a hearty laugh at the tiger cub's misfortune. Sakura scooped him up and kissed his forehead. It's okay, Kaijin-kun, you'll grow bigger someday. If cubs could scowl, Kaijin would have done so in that instance. His master only grinned. We have given you the necessary tools, but remember you three have a long way to go before you're strong enough to stop Isu. Trust in each other and in yourselves. The world is depending on you three. Naruto and Sasuke grabbed their eggs and held on to them for dear life. We will, Varandan-sama. Admittedly at first, I was a bit skeptical about taking such a responsibility on our shoulders, but, he began. We cannot sit by and allow our village to just be wiped off the map, Sasuke continued. Especially, if our Ka-san is involved, Sakura finished. Very well, I shall send you three back, then. It's morning back in the land of waves, just so you know. Naruto nodded. Kakashi-sensei is likely on shift protecting Tazuna at the bridge. He's probably expecting us to show up for our shifts, Sasuke scowled. You two can drop your eggs off at the house. Kaijin-kun and I will look after them both, Sakura offered, which the two bobbed their heads in acceptance. Are you ready? Varandan asked. The three nodded. Very well. Chakra gathered in all three boss summons mouths as Varandan fired a blast at Naruto, Zelos conjured a pillar of flames, and Byako a torrent of water around Sakura. The trio of genin vanished not even a second later. Wave Country, 0800 hours, Squad 7, to include the newly recruited Kaijin, unceremoniously landed in a field. Several groans of pain could be heard. Damn, I think I'm gonna have a headache, he winced, clenching his forehead. No kidding, Naruto agreed. Ugh, let's just make our way back, Sakura suggested, picking herself up. Kaijin rested on top of her head as she helped her two friends up. Yeah, let's dash, the blonde's retort was cut off by a scream. What was that? Sakura screeched. That sounded like Tsunami-san. Let's go. Naruto ordered as he and the rest of his team dashed toward Tazuna's house. Sakura was eagerly determined to get back. She needed to apologize to both Inari and his mother. She'd be damned if she lived with that regret. They stopped dead in their tracks as the house came into view. The outside was in shambles and they smelt bloodlots of it. Naruto's protective instincts immediately took over as he dashed inside the damaged house. He saw two corpses of two samurai. It was obvious that these thugs worked for Gata, but how did Tsunami and Inari fight them off? Something's wrong here, came the voice of Sasuke walking behind him. What is it, Sasuke-kun? Sakura asked, almost afraid of the answer. There's not a single trace of chakra in this house at all. Sasuke had scanned the rooms multiple times with his Sharingan. Nothing. Their eyes widened. Before Naruto could devise a plan, Kaijin started to hiss ferociously, staring into the beyond. Kaijin? You sense something? Naruto deduced. The cub only hissed even more. The backyard. Sakura exclaimed, understanding what Tiger was getting at. Naruto and Sasuke nodded and they dashed out the back door to find Inari unconscious, and Tsunami tied up. Tsunami-san, the trio chorused. Naruto-san, Sasuke-san, Sakura-san. Stay back, the woman warned, but it was too late. The moment Squad 7 had stepped foot in the backyard, a purple dome had surrounded the entire house as well as a large field, effectively trapping them. 6 swirls of dark energy conjured in front of them and 6 men came out, all armed to the teeth in attire that was foreign to the trio. The leader of the men was a strange man in golden armor, a red robe and an opera mask on his face with a golden faceplate. We've been waiting for you, Dragon Ninja, the leader intoned, his English accent being augmented with a synthetic tone. Who are you? And how do you know who I am? Naruto asked, drawing the Ryu no Kiba. Who am I? I'm an alchemist, of course. You may call me Daihan, regent of the mask and leader of the Lords of Alchemy. Daihan proudly boasted. He and his 6 subordinates clapped their hands together and slowly pulled them apart, conjuring swords in the shape of rapiers. Come Namikaze Naruto. Come and let the magic of alchemy test and consume the last descendant of the dragon lineage. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. If you want early updates, check out Patreon. This is Fox Sage, and I'm signing off.